What's up, people? I am back. It's been fun vacation. There's a lot of stuff that happened while I was away, and we're going to talk about some of those things tonight. Dale, shut up!
No, I'm sorry. Who is this? Me and
Get out of here. What are you doing, man? Ruining my intro like that? After I've been gone for a month, you've had a month to say whatever you want, and now you're going to jump in whenever I'm talking. What are you doing, Dale?
This random guy's taking over our show, David. What's going on?
I'm doing it. And here's my other friend coming in to save the day as well, Joshua Davidson, and now he's gone. What's going on, though, people? We're having an open mic night tonight. If you want to jump on the stream with us and talk about whatever you want to talk about, let me know. We're going to, so let me post up in the discussion.
I'll do it, Tyler. I got it.
I got it.
I
beat you to it. So in the so if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, so I just posted in the chat, the live chat, the link to jump on here with us. Please please share this stream, because tonight we're competing with Idol Killer, who knows our schedule and decides to go live with a really interesting discussion. It's going to be a James White debate. So hang out with us for an hour if you want to, and then go check out his stream. I would suggest watch ours all the way through, and then go to his after we're done, because I think we're just going to go about an hour and a half, 2 hours tonight, maybe. We'll see what happens, though. We'll see if we get some good topics to talk about. But we're going to talk about some of the stuff that's happened. David's already touched on some of these things while I've been gone, as they happened in real time. More info has came out now, and so I'm excited to talk about this. So the Donald Trump shooting, the assassination attempt, we're going to talk about it a little bit more. What happened with the Olympics, the opening ceremony just a few days ago, with their disgraceful rendition of the Last Supper. That's going to be an interesting topic. And then also, we've got men beating up women, apparently. We'll dive into this a little bit. But men beating up women in the Olympics. And so it's going to be more of a political-based show, but from a Christian perspective on things. So if you're interested in that, jump on with us. Let's talk about it. Or if you've got a topic that you would like to discuss that's not even related to that, please feel free to come on with us. Also, if you've got a question, we are taking all questions tonight, super chat or in non-super chat questions. We will take any and all of your questions. Because, Syrup, we live in the world, yet we are not citizens of this world. We still live in it. We still deal with it. And so if you don't want to talk about the world, or if you don't want to hear somebody talk about the world, you're welcome to leave. But we're going to do that tonight. So what's up, Dale? I know you're trying to get in. What's up?
So I did think of a topic, and it'll be a nice one, actually. And it's, something new we never did before. So
good. Well, right on. That's wonderful. GU, welcome. How are you doing, sir? By the way, so GU just reminded me, just seeing him. So we are in preparation. We just had a closed meeting about moderation. So Faith Unaltered is looking for YouTube moderators. We will be not interviewing, but you know what? Let me make this easy. Send me an email if you have any kind of interest whatsoever in being a Faith Unaltered mod. I will send you a video that we just recorded a couple days ago, actually. Yesterday, as a matter of fact. No, Thursday. It was Thursday at 11 a.m. And so we've got a video recorded. It's our quote-unquote training video, and we will send that to you to show you what all we would require. Now, this is from a Idol Killer mod, and so, Warren, if you see this, we are going to steal your mod, the lovely Amber, and so we just thank you for loaning her to us. But I think she jumped ship, actually, and so we'll see what happens there. No, she didn't jump ship. She's a good person that really that I'm appreciative of, because she helped us out in a time of need, and so to fill in with helping moderators and help us get started with moderators. And so if you're interested in a moderator position here on YouTube for the Faith Unaltered channel, email me, faithunaltered@gmail.com. Also, please feel free to donate to us via our Linktree link below in our description. Check the Linktree account out, and that's where you can find our email. That's where you can find our other social media places that we are: TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter even. So yeah, we got a little bit of Faith Unaltered everywhere in the world. So we want to thank you all for joining, and welcome to our open mic night. David, what's going on, bro?
Man, just glad to be back and glad to get into these topics, man. They're really interesting to me.
Let's do it. Let's jump in. Josh, what's up, brother?
Not a whole lot. Just kind of glad to see you back, to be honest with you. It's
been a minute.
Month. Yeah, it's been a long month. It's been interesting because orchestrating 2 Cosmic Corner discussions in 1 month was a task, but did it, and it actually went better than I thought. So
hey, you didn't have to. I was more than willing to help you with one, even though all the craziness hit me at the last couple weeks.
Well, I wanted to prove to myself that I could pull that off.
Okay.
Because normally there's a long mental settling period after having a conversation like that, where I have to really chew on the information. So having 2 in 1 month, really, like it felt like I accomplished a new, like a new checkpoint.
I figured something was going on with you putting 2 out there like that.
Yeah, but
it was
like,
good. Man, he's really being assertive. He wants to do this.
Yeah, it was good though. I really enjoyed it. And I had John Newby on for the second one. We talked about sacred and profane things. And for those who watch Faith Unaltered, John Newby did his testimony about becoming Orthodox about a month and a half ago, I think, something like that. And he's a police officer, and so he has a very high detail orientation. And so he actually made a really great addition, similar to Dale, with really great like attention oriented pushback questions for clarity while we were having the discussion, and it was very Dale flavored. So I really like that a whole lot.
Yeah, John's a good dude. I like John a lot, actually. It'd be cool to have John come on and give to do like his own segment. I think that would be an interesting concept that isn't happening, like, or that we know of anyway. I'm just saying, so if John's watching, if you want to think about that, maybe we're always expanding Faith Unaltered. So anyway, I see some interesting. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat. So if I seem kind of, I got to shake off the rust. I got to remember, this is why we need moderators. But I got to remember not to deal with the chat as much tonight. It's an open mic night, so it's a special occasion. But man, I got to get back on the ball. So I apologize, guys. What's up, Dale?
Yeah, if it helps, I could get us in terms of a topic. I have a topic that I think would be dealt with very quickly.
Let's do it.
4 of us, and then this is kind of a practical question for Christians, but there are Bible verses such as Ephesians chapter 5 verse 4, which says, "Let there be no filthiness, nor foolish talk, nor crude joking, which are out of place, but instead let there be thanksgiving." So this is kind of I've been dealing with a controversy on I was dealing with a controversy on Real Seekers about crude joking and whether it's appropriate or not for Christians versus non-Christians to engage in crude joking. So I just kind of wanted to ask you guys, and this will be very quick, but what exactly does the Bible mean by crude joking? What's included in that? And should Christians, if we're like the host of a Christian podcast, should we impose Christian morality on non-Christians as well? Like, not allow them to make crude jokes and stuff?
I'm really torn about this because though I am all for Christianity, obviously, right? Like, it's hard for me anyway. It's hard to see how people who are not, and I don't mean, so let me preface this because I don't want to be taken the wrong way whenever I say this, but it's really, so what I don't mean by people who are indwelt by the Holy Spirit versus people who are not indwelt by the Holy Spirit, I don't mean quality, maybe quality, but like, I don't mean that we're better, right? Like, that's what I don't mean, is that we're better,
superior,
or we're superior, or you're somehow inferior, right? Like, that's not what I'm getting at. what I mean by that is what anybody who's actually been born again will testify to is that with the change of heart that the Holy Spirit brings to you, a change of action follows immediately. Now, is it like you become perfect? No, but there's this change of will, the things that you used to love. So, for example, Deadpool and Wolverine recently came out, but Deadpool came out a while back. I forget when the release year was or whatever, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was before I became born again, which was about 6 years ago. So if somebody wants to look up when Deadpool came out, just to make sure, just to fact check me real quick, to make sure it came out before I was born again, 2020, 2020, more like 2018, 2019, somewhere around in there is whenever I believe I was born again. But the point I'm trying to make, regardless,
2016, the first one,
the Deadpool came out. Okay, I thought it was close, but I remember enjoying Deadpool. I remember laughing my head off. I remember really like realizing that there was a lot in Deadpool that I found related to my life, right? In a very, in a comedic way, right? I'm not an assassin by night and I can die. But regardless, Deadpool was very, very intriguing to me and I loved it, right? I tried to sit down and watch Deadpool the other day and I found myself turning it off because I just don't, after getting, and I'm, it's not like you buy them at the supermarket, but after being indwelt with the Holy Spirit, something inside you changes. There's a love for God and more so maybe even a want to please him and a not want, and I'm sorry I'm being rather vague here and not, Josh is the wordsmith, not me, by any stretch of the imagination. But the point is that the things that I used to love, I now really don't like, and even some of those things like I hate. And so it's hard. So I say that, so I'm taking a long path here. I say that to say it's hard for me to impose anything on anybody. First of all, I'm not a figure of authority by any stretch of the imagination. But it's hard for me to say, hey, you non-Christian, you must like, you must do, you must be like me, though that's almost an impossibility. I don't know. Do you guys get where I'm coming from there? Because if you don't have the Holy Spirit, there's something that, I mean, maybe I'm just a weird cookie. I don't know. But like I said, it's easiest to summarize for me by saying the things that I once loved, I now cannot stand. I used to really like and sorry if I'm trying to be PG here, but I used to go to gentlemen's clubs. I loved the experience. I got along with the people there. I could make conversation. If I tried to step into one of those places now, married or unmarried, right? Obviously, I'm married. I'm not going. But even unmarried, I just would feel completely out of place. The friends that I once had, I no longer have those friends. Not because, like, I cut them off and said, I can't be around you. I can't do this. You're a horrible person. Like, no. We just mutually grew apart because of our common uncommon interests now. The things that I like, they don't. The things that they like, I don't. Right? And so we just kind of mutually grew apart. And then I gravitated toward people of similar interests. So the short way to phrase all of that long thing that I just said, Dale, and you tell me if it makes sense or not, is that it's hard for me to impose the things that I like, and that I work hard to participate in on somebody else that is fundamentally different than I am. And then we are here. Does that make sense? You're muted. So. Okay.
I think so. I go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, my mouse is delayed. No, I was just I get what you're saying there, kind of thing. But I want to hear what Josh and David have to say as well. So over to you, Josh. You were talking.
Well, I looked up the word for the phrase crude joking Ultimately, what it seems to be connoting specifically is kind of a purposefully offensive, trollish sarcasm, something like that, to where it's like somebody who is looking to prod and cause offense, right? And so it'd be something like the way that a heretic is an offense and a division in the church. This would be somebody who on a relational level is performing the same function. And so it's basically to not be heretical in your relationships to one another as well as heretical to the church. It's not to be a divisive sucker, right? Like, and that's something that, to be honest with you, I'm glad you brought it up, because that's something that I think we're all rather tired of in the online community at this point. And one of the things that we've kind of made a point of in the Faith Unaltered aesthetic overall is like, look, guys, we can do better, like do better, you know? And so, like, really practically speaking, it's a call out for people who would use words as a weapon rather than a tool, I think. Because you can use joking as a form of healing or as a form of call out, right? You can use sarcastic humor in some sense. I think that this
comedy is a good medicine.
Right, exactly.
Like laughter heals the soul for sure.
Yeah, and the movie Patch Adams is a great display of that. I love that movie. But in the Old Testament, the example that comes to mind of some place where something like this, and I think it's a unique case that something like this was actually ordinately used, is when the prophet Elijah is calling out the prophets of Baal and starts talking mess on Baal. And is like, is he busy? You know, is he lost in the bathroom? Like, did he fall asleep? You know, and he's mocking them as they're doing these drastic and physically harmful things to themselves, and egging them on, right? And what we're being told, I think, by Paul in the New Testament is not to make that a Christian practice. That was a special case scenario, and this is something that I think we should all be equally called out on, but especially those people in the social media sphere that go out of their way to be offensive on purpose and think truth divides, I'm being virtuous, and your persecution is evidence that I'm saved, hoorah, and then they high-five their friends into the sunset and accomplish nothing. It's like, those people should really take this seriously, I think.
Can you imagine if Elijah had a hype man? I'm just saying, like, somebody in the background going, yeah, like, just, you know, we all know how. I think, honestly, guys, I think Faith Unaltered needs a hype man. Like, just somebody that has no idea about theology. Come on our streams whenever I'm doing like a solo episode, or Josh, you're doing like a Cosmic Corner, and just randomly pop in and just get the crowd hyped up for Jesus. We're going to make shirts, hyped for Jesus. And that's going to be a merch thing. And so I've been talking to a guy at work maybe about that. So Michael, if you're watching, we need to discuss that more. But if there's anybody in our comments that thinks that Faith Unaltered needs a hype man, let us know in the comments or in the chat.
Hashtag hype man.
Yeah.
Hashtag hype man it up.
I just want to say that's interesting what Josh said. Without knowing that, I'm glad he looked up what it meant about true joking and stuff. Because, so for example, with swearing on my channel, if I have an unbeliever, sometimes they'll accidentally swear, or like they'll just swear or something like that, and they'll apologize and say, "Is that okay?" And what I usually do is like, well, look, on this channel, I would prefer you not to swear, but you're an unbeliever, so I'm not going to enforce it for someone like you. But what I do prevent, so with my old co-host David Johnson, he would purposefully swear just for trolling's sake, to be offensive. So I put a stop to that, where he's like, so for example, he would say like, your God flooded the earth and drowned innocent little babies. F that guy, like that. He had like taglines to purposely be offensive, and that's where I drew the line and stuff like that.
Dale, just out of curiosity, what do you think about Christians cussing or cursing or swearing, or however you want to word it? I know Canada's different, but what?
We can't swear.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think the Bible purposefully, explicitly says not to say that, right?
So no, so I'm always controlled here on the channel. Now, do I have issues with cussing like at work? Yep, you better believe it. But at the same time, like I'm torn about this because I've got that switch to flip it off here, right? which I don't want to be fake, but at the same time, I do want to be reserved because I don't want to be offensive, and not just for the sake of not offending everybody, because you're going to offend somebody, right? But I think for a
good example.
If you're promoting Christianity, if Christianity, whether you're Orthodox, whether you are Catholic, whether you're Protestant, I think if you are using your channel, right, as a platform for Jesus and for Christianity and everything that entails, right, I think you should be the best example of the person you are identifying with, right, who didn't do those things. But then you've got people that would come back and say, well, Paul cussed. Paul specifically was vulgar in the book of Philippians to make a point. And so, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that, but I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, you know, like, all right, here's my answer basically, guys, is that there's intent behind every word, right?
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of the random acts of craziness, like random jokes. Like when I say male lover, right? It's a Dale, just like joking around.
For those who don't know, Dale,
basis.
that rhymes with Dale Glover.
Yes.
Just so you know.
And the thing is like we have this relationship where it's just silly, baseless humor, right? It's that slapstick stuff, right? So there's no intent behind it. It's no there's no animosity, there's no division. It's just there to be random and open your eye and be like, oh, you just said that to me, you jerk, you know, like playing around, you know. So I think there's intent that has to be present. Like even Jesus calling people whitewashed tombs and stuff, he got pretty vocal to them as well, you know. Blind
son of a
guys
snake.
Snakes and, you know, pit of vipers, brood of vipers, you
Right.
see these type of things. Now, as far as on this professional level, like Tyler's talking about, I think that there's a lot to be said with how we present our channel to people, just like you do in a job interview, you know, and we want to present a channel that people feel comfortable being on. You know what I mean? So, yeah, are we more reserved when we deal with other people? Here's the testimony, is that when we have people that come on that are not believers on our channels, they usually want to come back.
Yeah.
Because of that rapport we have, that the love we show them, the acceptance, I'm not going to judge you, or I'm not going to, because the judgment, you can say words that aren't necessarily curse words and be crude and offend them by saying other things and use your words as a weapon, like Josh was saying. So, I mean, there's a lot to this, and it's just being mindful of the intent and thinking before you speak. Because, you know, like, okay, so there's something that me and my wife do all the time. And we'll look at each other and we'll like do something crazy, and we'll start like using like funny words, whether sometimes they're curse words, sometimes they're not, but we just do it just to like, you know, for reaction's sake, just playing around, and we just laugh it off, right? It's not like a big deal. It's not nothing that, you know, there's nothing behind it, you know? So I think that there's a time and a place for things. And
I agree. I think that there's things, especially like with our wives involved, right? 3 of us here are married. And so with that being said, like, there are things that I would do with my wife in my room, in our room, like in my room. I feel like a kid. But in our house, right? That clearly we would never do on camera, right? Like being live streamed to a family audience, right? Obviously. And so I hear what you're saying, David, because I think in the realm of joking and things like that, and everybody is unique. Like, you've got to take this as a circumstantial case, right? Circumstance by circumstance, individual by individual. There are things that people are going to be offended by. And so this is kind of touching on Sean's question, I think, a little bit, if I get where he's coming from. But there's going to be things that maybe you're offended by that I'm just not. Like, a perfect example with my wife. Like, people can say GD around me, and it doesn't really bug me that much, right? Especially if it's an unbeliever. Now, if it's a Christian, I'm like, what's going on here? But if it's an unbeliever, like, that doesn't bug me because I'm around that so much. I'm not just, I don't know. But whenever my wife hears somebody use that word, where whatever they are, it's like you can just see on her face, she makes this like, I just got sick face, right? Like I just caught the flu, to rob from Cat Williams. I just caught the flu face. There's Christians who would never watch Cat Williams, right? I happen to find Cat Williams funny as all get out, but that's just me. And so it's definitely circumstance by circumstance, individual by individual, I think.
Also, Tyler, I mean, like I grew up in the age of In Living Color, where they made fun of everybody.
Right.
Everybody. Transgenders were made fun of. Gays were made fun of. Blacks and whites were made fun of. All the cultural jokes that we just are totally, that wouldn't work today, they did back then. You know what I mean?
And everybody was cool with it. Like
everybody loved it.
Even the people that were the butt of the joke laughed about it. Now, obviously, bullying. So there's a difference here between like joking and then bullying, right? Now, some people might not think so. Well, every joke's bullying. I don't think so personally. But you're right, David. Like those people laugh because people, guess what? People had a spine back then. They knew how to take a freaking joke, right? Nowadays, you say something, you're getting sued by somebody. Like it's ridiculous. Or if you're in Canada with where Dell is, you're getting thrown in jail. Like it's completely flip-flopped. I was talking to an older guy that I used to work with, just about Republicans and Democrats just in general. So nothing crazy. And he said, Tyler, everything is flip-flopped from whenever I was a kid. I remember whenever people like Kennedy, whenever Democrats in that era were for the working person, and it was your Republicans that maybe if they weren't liberal, they were definitely, not for working class people like the Democrats were. But now everything is just totally reversed. And then Trump comes on the scene and totally messes up everything, not in a good way. I voted for Trump. And I know what it's like to live under Trump and, love me or hate me. I don't care at this point, but I know what it was like to live under Trump for 4 years. And I know what it's like to live under Biden and Harris for 4 years. And guess what? I don't want to live under Biden and Harris anymore because it sucks. And if you can't agree with that, then I don't know what to tell you. But my goodness.
Yeah, we're bleeding, dude. We're just bleeding money, dude.
It's ridiculous, dude. It's ridiculous. But we're going to get more into that here in a little bit. But
here, let me
setting the stage. Go ahead,
take
Josh.
2 pokes at this because there's a couple of things you guys said that kind of expounded the idea quite a bit, especially with the mention of comedians who are particularly distasteful to some people, right? Yeah. I just watched Deadpool the other day with my wife for the first time with her. She had never seen it before. And I can agree with you, Tyler, that it became very distasteful to me. Yeah. Things that used to be like hilarious are now like really, really cringy in the not funny kind of way. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so what I agree that there's this like difference in trajectory. You described the difference between the people who were in a place where you used to frequent and how you separated yourself from that place. And now you guys are on different trajectories, and that separates you in a really natural, organic kind of way. It wasn't like a hurt and an enemy and a parting of ways because of rage or something like that. A natural consequence of a new trajectory. I think it's one of the powers of repentance ultimately, is that it is transformative, and we should in fact be noticing and welcoming changes like that. But also there's the case that being somebody myself who is rather prudish, and I'll admit it, that I'm easily offended by things that are offhanded. I don't watch horror films. I don't watch anything gory. I don't like distasteful language in movies. I don't like sex scenes. I don't like that. I won't watch Game of Thrones. There's lots of shows that I simply won't participate in.
Never seen it.
And most of them, I honestly have no interest in watching just about anything that HBO produces, half of what Netflix produces, a lot of what Disney produces. I have no interest anymore. You know what I mean? And so, and then on the other end of that, the idea, and this is something that Sean brought up here with the idea that we should be harder to offend. I agree and disagree. The reason why we're easier to offend is the same reason why after I harm my foot, my toes are more sensitive to everything that they feel. We are deeply pained. We're in a terrible place, a society that is so ripped to shreds and just hurting in every direction that there's no one thing you could point to and say, here's the problem. If we fix it, we hunky dory now. Like, there's not one thing. There's a billion things that fragment us, and the church is in the same state, and we're all in a position to be really easily hurt because we're all sore from everything that's already happened. And so as a society, even on a global scale, but especially on the Western front, we're easily offended because we're basically bashing our own feet in with a club and wondering why we're getting immobile.
I'm smiling, Josh. I'm smiling because I absolutely love your analogies. I've never thought about it like that, but you're right. I've got a broken ankle, right? And so whenever winter comes around, or even I just tap my ankle because I've heard it before, it's all that more sensitive. And I've never thought of that analogy before. So props. You're good. Go ahead.
Hashtag narrative structure. But yeah, that's basically, that's the same. It's exactly the same case, because that's why this narrative structure idea is actually really powerful, because it works at every level of resolution. The individual experiences this. The family experiences this. The local community or club or membership that we are joined to experiences this. The community as a larger space, the cities, the states, the countries, the global community experiences this. We are harmed. This is literally the basis of Christianity, and the need for the incarnation and atonement is that we're harmed, and we all feel it. Why do we sin? Why where did guilt even come from? Why are you prideful? Like, all of those things are pieces of the broken, right? Like, that's why and so in the more immediate sense, experientially and emotively, like, the spirit that we're operating under is one of pain and resentment. And that's why we're ready to poke one another and really willing to kind of like suddenly die on a strange hill because we're so hurt. Right. I think that's honestly why, is because all of this is a spiritual representation of exactly where we are.
That's good, Josh. I appreciate that. Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, so I like what you guys are saying. I'll just add one last thought on this. And in the original verse that I was talking about in Ephesians about this stuff, the crude joking and all this, I noticed that there's a qualifier, right, which are out of place, and I think that's a key thing here that we're saying too, because there's sometimes there are controversies where private things will be made public, so they're being taken out of their proper place. So, for example, Tyler mentioned, him and his wife having, some private talk in their bedroom. So if somebody were to tape record that and then expose it on the news, that's taking that talk out of place. And I think you're getting unnecessarily offended, because that wasn't meant to be public. That was private between them and stuff like that. So,
and if you think about it, Dale, on top of that, I mean, this is a church. Things are going to be made public, so we have to be careful. We have to be careful in what we say and do.
I agree.
Hey, David, check your settings on your mic. Sorry to interrupt, Dale. Check your settings on your mic.
What's wrong with it?
Well, it sounds like it's coming through your computer, but go ahead, Dale.
I don't have the worst mic.
Oh, we're getting you a mic. I hear that, dude. I just hear this click.
That's Dale's. Watch.
I know. That's why I said we're going to get him a mic. So bear with us a little bit longer, audience. We're going to get Dale a mic. Go ahead, Dale.
All right. So that's all I was saying. Yes, and I tried to live consistently. So, for example, because I saw the hurt from private emails getting exposed, and it shouldn't have been, right? Because it was a private email, but I had Christians coming to my channel saying like how this destroyed their view of this hero kind of thing that they looked up to and stuff, like, because it did look like there's an inconsistency. So I agree with what you're saying, David, and that's why I told you, let's stop these homosexual jokes, because I don't want someone to like think I'm living inconsistently and stuff. So let's not do those.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Those kind of,
is that better, Tyler?
Yeah, is the setting automatically adjust mic volume checked?
I guess what I'm saying is not interesting, so I'll stop.
No, I just want to get him set up.
Yeah.
You know what, Dale? Actually, I really like what you just added there.
That's
because
good,
it reminds
Dale. Or
me,
David.
It reminds me how this all ties into something else that's deeply relevant to the way that our talk and our crude humor is. This ties directly into what the scripture warns about in gossip, is that to take what is out of place like you just said, to air someone else's private conversation that was meant to be private, and in some sense, you know, like joking with your wife can be an intimate moment where you're sharing that space of you, that piece of you that doesn't belong to anybody else, right? And it's a privileged position for the wife to experience that position, and that privilege is to be the most private part of me is exposed to you, right? And that's something that if that was betrayed to me, the cost of it would be trust, and trust is way too expensive. And so I think that this ties in not only to humor, but also crudely, humorously making gospel remarks about people out of place, because that's something that Paul warns against pretty frequently as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought that was kind of a key thing in the verse to mention. So, yeah, thank you guys for giving that great answers and stuff. I think I agree with a lot of what everyone said. So
that's good. Right on. I appreciate the topic.
So now let's tell some crude jokes about the Olympics.
Let's tell some crude jokes about the Olympics. And so first of all, I do want to talk about the assassination. That's old news, so maybe we can stay on that, like maybe for a little bit shorter time, and then go to our more recent current events that's happening in the world today. But David, I want to flip this script over to you just for a second, because I don't want to repeat what you've already touched on. So if you could just give a brief summary about what you talked about. And by the way, if you've not watched David Russell Gets Controversial, go check it out. I've not watched it yet. That's on me. I took a break from all social media, except for Facebook. Like, I keep in touch on Facebook. And then we set up memberships on our YouTube channel. So if you're not a member, member-only content starts dropping this month. And so I've got a lot of things planned for that. That maybe, like, some people will be interested in it, some people won't be, but it's going to go kind of outside the realm of Christian apologetics. We'll do things Christian apologetics for our members only, but I'm really like with Dale on this topic. I think Christian apologetic stuff or Christianity stuff should be free. So we're going to go kind of outside the realm of Christianity, and more like a vlog style. I don't want to give too much away, but we're going to go outside the realm, and hopefully what I've got planned for August the 24th with Jonathan Pritchett and Will Hess. Wow, I know it's not going to be the 24th now, so just talking about this made me remember the 31st. We're going to try the 31st. We'll see what happens. But with Will Hess from the Church Split and Jonathan Pritchett from Trinity Radio, I've got a plan. It's going to be a competition of sorts for our members only, with Will Hess and Jonathan Pritchett. I hope it pans out. I'm not making any promises. Will is being kind of difficult, if I'm going to be honest, guys. And so me and him might have to have a private conversation very soon if he don't straighten up. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, so let's do the Trump shooting. The assassination attempt. Trump did get shot, unless you've been living under a rock. Yes, Trump got shot. No, that's not fake news, people. I know there are some people who really don't believe that happened. Like it was set up. No, unless there's so many people. It's kind of like faking the moon landing, right? Like you would have to have so many people involved. It's just kind of impossible for that to happen. But if you do believe the Trump shooting was fake, so Dale and David, there you go. I'm more on your guys' side than Dane at this point with the moon landing. So you're welcome. I thought I would get a party for that, but apparently
did you
not.
actually?
We'll
hey,
see.
did you actually watch the Mythbusters show on it? It was actually
No, not yet. I watched the
basically
Y-Files
proved-
episode on it, and he did pretty good.
They also proved they did some really cool experiments saying like that it couldn't have been fake because of this, and this, and they went through some pretty
Right.
extensive testing. It was really good stuff. And that's just a fun show, you know. So
Right. It sounds like what
more scientific stuff on it as well.
It sounds like what AJ Gentile did with the Y-Files. It's almost like he didn't do experiments or anything like that, but he basically took the 5 or 6 most compelling, I say that with air quotes, arguments that hoaxer or the people on the moon landing was a hoax side bring to the table, and he went through and refuted them. So the wires, the green screens, you know, just stuff like that, and just silly stuff, really. So yes, y'all, I believe at this point, unless other arises, I believe we went to the moon in 69? Is that right? Okay, cool. So there you go. I'm on record saying it now, so you're welcome. But
commentary on the shooting so far, man.
It's the best commentary on the shooting. We're going to tie in the assassination attempt with moon landing hoaxes. But the point is that there are some people who really believe that this did not happen. And to them, I say, bro, provide the sources. Like, show me the evidence. By the way, merch is coming. Show me the sources shirt. If you would like that, let me know in the comments. But what I'm just curious what our audience thinks about this, because whenever I saw that, my mind was just kind of, it melted for a minute and then it came back, like Deadpool. But anyway, first of all, what are your guys' thoughts about this whole idea that the Trump shooting was a fake? And then David, I want to go to you and just give a brief summarization about what you talked about on your last episode about this topic.
Yeah, I think me and Dale covered the sickness aspect of it, of how sick it was, that you know, you can have differences of political opinion to the point where these people want to kill somebody.
Now, before we kick this off, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. I should have said this before. Before we kick this off, would we be saying the same thing that we're getting ready to say and what you have said if Donald Trump and Joe Biden was switched?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I think me and Dale both said we wouldn't even condone it if someone went after Biden, man. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Well, so I specifically said, look, we can have it an open question. We needed an investigation. I played that video clip from the sniper, right? So great. If you want to have that as a question, we can investigate it. But I think that the evidence, it's so improbable. It's implausible. It's beyond reasonable doubt that Trump was shot. And if it was Biden, it would be the same thing, right? Given the evidence that we have, it just doesn't add up. That said, I do believe, I argued that, I think a more plausible conspiracy theory is the one from the right wing, where I think it's right when they're saying, look, that there was some purposeful negligence, I think, on the part of the
Secret
authorities.
Service.
You know, I think the evidence proves, it's more probable than not that they did something. They kind of maybe they found out that this guy was doing it, so they turned a blind eye. But there's just so many common sense failures that I think they add up to be like, I don't.
Well, they were so important that the Secret Service director had to resign the next week, in front of Congress.
Exactly. I don't see this. I think it's more likely that there was some kind of purposeful thing behind it.
Okay. What about the two shooter scenario? So let's kind of break this down scenario by scenario, and then I'll talk about some of the evidence that was just released. So what I mean by that is the James Copenhaver video. So James Copenhaver, for those who don't know, was a guy at the rally who did get shot. So he got injured. They had to carry him out. From the videos that I saw, they had to carry him out. Now, not to be confused with Corey Comparator, God have mercy, eternal memory, right? But David Dutch and James Copenhaver, who we are all praying for, obviously, and their families. James Copenhaver released, or Copenhagen, I forget his last name, forgive me. I think it's Copenhaver. Anyway, he released video now that shows crooks running across the building that the FBI or the Secret Service, or we're kind of still blurry on those details, but some kind of law enforcement was running on a metal roof. I don't know how that didn't alert people, but anyway, so but to go back to my original question, what do you guys think about the two shooter scenario? Is that plausible? Is that not? What do you guys think about that?
I have no idea.
Okay, so let me break this down. So when you analyze, so the theory is when you analyze the audio recordings of the shots that are being fired, right? You get 1, 2, 3, right? And then you get the barrage of 5 or 6, whatever it was. The 8th in that whole entire series, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, like you get a completely different sound that we think now is the law enforcement. So we know the Secret Service apparently took the shot at the very end. So the bullet, the shot that you hear that is broken up from all of that initial firing, that was the Secret Service shot that took out Crooks. That was the kill shot, right? But the 8th shot that you hear in that barrage, so you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that sounds like a completely different gun. And now reports are coming out, to my knowledge, that was a ESU, so Butler or Beaver County sheriffs or state or one of the local law enforcements, that was them shooting at Crooks as well. But so here's the theory, Dale, is that the first 3 shots sound completely different than 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right. What is being reported is that Crooks took 8 shots, but the theory is because those sound completely different. And by the way, if you haven't seen Faith Unaltered YouTube shorts, check that out, because I did a video where my wife was shooting our AR-15, and I went around because people were saying, well, because of the way the microphone is on the phone, it will sound different. I think we proved that false, but maybe not. There's all kinds of things that go into guns, and obviously we didn't do an exact reenactment, but I just wanted to see if it would sound different if I moved the phone around. But anyway, that's the theory. Does that make sense, or do I need to elaborate a little bit more on that, Dale?
It makes sense.
Okay.
But that evidence is meaningless to me, just because I don't know enough to know if you can tell from that. So like I wouldn't use that as evidence of a conspiracy. But let me just ask you, just to clarify, are you saying that they've come out and admitted the gunshots are different? Like somebody admitted that was me that fired or something?
No. Well, wait. Are you talking about like the...
So somebody admitted they were the 8th shot, right?
Yes.
That's a different... So that is a different guy.
Butler or Beaver County. I need to go look that up, so I might do that while you guys are chatting about this. But one of the guys from Butler or Beaver County came out and said, yes, I took a shot at Crooks that did not kill him per se. So
yeah.
Paraphrase. That's the word I was looking for. Those weren't his exact words, but paraphrased.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, I don't get into the weeds like that because I don't have the technical skills to tell based on that. I'm a little suspicious of those types of arguments, but here's mine is the kind of thing that I think is just common sense, right? They identified this building, 150 feet away as a threat, and they didn't have anybody on the roof covering the roof. That's just
150 yards.
There's no excuse for that. That was them making a purposeful decision that I think smacks of like, yeah, maybe you'll get them. Who cares?
I agree. And Robert Rowe, so whenever we saw Kim Cheadle testify, I don't know if you guys watched that or not, I did. But she would not give any answers, like at all. Like, we're still waiting on the FBI to conduct their investigation, blah, 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 blah. That was about it. Robert Rowe, now who is the acting director of the Secret Service, has came out and said that, yes, it was a failure not to attend that, but is blame shifting and pushing that blame on the local guys. Whenever it's came out now, the Secret Service, when you conduct an event like that, Secret Service is the people who is in charge. This is confirmed by Robert Rowe himself in his testimony to Congress, a week ago now? Maybe it was a little bit sooner than that. But so to blame shift and say, well, the local guys were supposed to have that covered is ridiculous, and you're just shifting blame whenever your acting director said the buck stops with me, right? You don't then pass the buck on to someone else, right? Because she knows and he knows the Secret Service is in charge. They're the people there making the decisions.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And then on top of that, the Secret Service usually flies out a week before. Are we losing Jamie? What happened?
I don't know what keeps happening to Jamie. He keeps going in and out. He's in the quay, but
Yep. But so yeah, they have to be there for a solid week in advance to
Now,
prep those things. So
do
it
they
should-
leave?
No, there's people on site the whole time
Okay.
preparing, but even if they did, I mean, that should all have been part of a plan. It should have been all part of a plan that they had somebody on each of those rooftops. I mean, we have guys on the White House with Stinger missiles,
Right.
in case an aircraft gets
Oh, I
closer.
missed my opportunity. All right. I was going to say hi, Jamie, before he left.
Jamie, what's going on here?
I'll have to wait for his next time.
He'll pop in here. There he is.
I don't
Go.
know why. I'm just sitting here.
All right, what's up, Jamie?
I'm not
How you
doing
doing?
anything.
Is it
Good.
you, Josh? Are you messing with us? It's a dang conspiracy, isn't it?
Someone's trying to ghost me.
It wouldn't be me.
Look, I'll keep my hands in sight. Hands up, don't shoot.
Show me those hands, boys.
See, I don't have to worry because we just have the RCMP up here. They can't do nothing to me.
See, the only person who doesn't show their hands doesn't have a camera on.
Exactly. So it's Dale. We have found the conspirator.
Justin Trudeau made me do it.
Oh,
Justin
man.
Trudeau made me
That's how
do
we
it.
might offend Dale with our joke here.
Uh-oh. Oh, man. It might
Hey,
happen.
man. Hey, man.
All right, Jamie, what do you think? Trump shooting, conspiracy? What? God, what is going on, man? Like, Dale is messing. Look,
Here I
I'll keep
am
my
telling
hands
you.
up. I don't care.
I think there was negligence, and what you're saying about passing the buck is probably it's kind of like the woman who made me. You made for me. It was the snake's fault.
Ah, I never thought of that, Jamie. That's really, really good. I like that. The snake made me do it, bro. Like, what are you
Same old
doing?
Story, bro. Same old story.
I like it.
I'm convinced that was the actual fall, by the way.
That was the actual fall.
Yeah, when Adam, instead of confessing and reorienting himself to God when God gave him the opportunity of
Oh,
confession, instead he blamed both the woman and God, and
he blame
put
shifted.
blame everywhere except himself.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, because
Was it when the trigger was pulled, or when he blamed the?
You want to hear? Here's one of my interests. Oh, sorry, Jamie.
No, I'm done.
Oh, I was going to say one of my interesting theories was the fall was actually almost even before that, because for him to be standing there watching his wife get tempted and allowing it to happen, I mean, he was standing right there, and that basically at that point he was putting her before his relationship with God as well. So I think that was also part of it. So yeah,
That's
there's a
one of the
lot
big
of stuff
questions,
going
though.
on there.
That's one of the big questions that people ask was Adam, around when she?
Yeah, it says
was
it right there. Yeah.
Was he not tending with his wife like he should have been? And I think you could say he was there, like in one sense or not. I think it's a little ambiguous.
right.
And so I think an interesting question way it was phrased to me that like Josh is getting at too is like one pastor, he's like, where he's brought up like this. He said, where is a man when he jumps off of a bridge? And if you say he's in the air, you say, well, that's after he jumped. And if you say, well, his feet are still on the bridge, well, that's before he jumped. So like, where is the man when he jumps? Makes the choice. It's kind of a conundrum or whatever. And so it's like with Eve, I always wonder when did you, if you want to look at it from that point of view, like when she ate the fruit, it's like, it's not that she ate the fruit. It's like when she decided, when she made the commitment to go her own way, when that commitment was executed in her mind, you could say, right? Not the moment that was it when she touched the fruit. That doesn't seem to be it. Was it when she swallowed it? Like, right?
Right.
When is the execution of the disobedience?
The devil's in the details.
Wow, that has a lot of meanings.
I can get hashtag narrative structure as well, but I don't know how. So I've been paying attention, but I really don't know how we got from Trump shooting to when did Adam actually sin. But that's interesting for sure.
The segue was made about shifting blame.
Fair
That
enough.
was exactly it.
And that's why you're here, Josh. That's exactly why you're here.
To pay attention. Just pay
To pay
attention. I'm the
attention.
attention guy.
That's right. That's right. Whenever I'm looking stuff up on my phone, but I'm listening, guys. I'm back. I'm with y'all. So, all right. So, okay.
I can say within an hour of the shooting occurring, my first inclination was to say, if there wasn't negligence on the side of the Secret Service in their surveillance, there was obviously something else going, which was just as stupid, to be honest with you, because if there was tight security, the kind of stealth and skill that somebody would have needed to get in, get their self in position, have the equipment and everything else, and then still miss. The only thing he lacked in that scenario was the skill to make the easiest shot ever. Weird. That smells horrible.
Well, I am of the impression that if Trump wouldn't have moved his head, it would have caught him. It's just, and now don't get me wrong, guys. Like, I'm not going to go out and say that he was divinely like saved or whatever, right? Like, I don't think an angel, hashtag Calvinism. I don't think an angel came down and turned his head. I think
it was Flash.
Something Flash.
Boom.
Flash, dude, Quicksilver, bro. Let's go Marvel. We've been on Marvel this whole time. For you to introduce Flash is heresy and hypocrisy.
You said you don't even watch Deadpool anymore, so
get
you
out of here.
Well,
I watch Marvel, so
why?
All I know is God was sovereign when that happened.
God was sovereign when it happened.
Allowance was permitted.
That's true.
Allowance was permitted.
And maybe an angel tickled his ear. Like, I don't know. And he turned. I don't know. Right. I didn't see it. But all I know, and I'm very persuaded by this, that if Trump hadn't have turned his head, he probably very well likely would have been dead now, instead of just getting grazed by that. But you're right, Josh. You have everything. And it's not stealthy. Okay. It's very interesting because of what I said initially in bringing this conversation up. The James Copenhaver video shows Crooks running on a metal roof, all right, that was supposed to be indwelt with the local law enforcement or somebody, some kind of law enforcement, whether it's Secret Service. Like I said, the details are kind of fuzzy there, whether it's Secret Service, whether it's local law enforcement, whatever. This kid is running on a metal roof that is supposed to be indwelt with law enforcement.
Is this after the firing of the?
No, this is before. This is while Trump is on stage. While James Copenhaver, the guy who got shot, one of the gentlemen who was wounded critically, right? I think he got shot. I don't know where he got shot, so I won't make a statement about that. But no, he's filming it, and you see Crooks's head bouncing up on the AGR building like he's running.
Wearing
I'll play it.
moccasins?
I'll play it. You guys keep going. I'll pull it up on YouTube and I'll play it for you.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
They made hear the clang. Then run.
Yeah, I just think it's obviously a failing on so many levels. But I think the intent behind it is just, it's very dark. And it blows my mind that literally it was within a 4-day span that now we had Biden drop out.
Ooh.
And now we have the social media, everything is inundated with a candidate that they didn't even like and that nobody voted for.
Mm-hmm.
She's just given delegates. It blows my mind.
14 million people voted for Biden.
They're talking about all these, these democracy and how this is a threat to our democracy. But this is the threat. You have a candidate that's coming in that it hasn't even been voted in. There's no primary for her. How can they do this? How can they get away with this type of stuff? It's just, it blows my mind. We have a process for a reason. People should get a say in who's going to be. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Let me play this video real quick, and then I want to get back to that, David, because that's my second talking point that I want to bring up. So let me play this and show everybody.
That text you brought up, though, that somebody commented, that's about as proper eisegesis as Trump being the last Trump, I think.
All right.
This is a Fox News alert. Shocking new video from one of the Trump rally shooting victims showing a figure moving on the roof moments before the would-be assassin opened fire.
And today, the former president will meet with the FBI to share his perspective on the events of July 13th. CB Cotton is live in Butler, Pennsylvania. CB, it's...
So I don't want to get, obviously, copyright. But you see, like I said, so that's James Copenhaver footage. Do you want me to play it again? You guys see that? Or
looks like a UAP to me.
Can we do it? UAP. Check us out. We'll do it one more time.
This is a Fox News alert. Shocking new video from one of the Trump rally shooting
I wish I
victims
could zoom in.
showing a figure moving on the roof moments before the would-be assassin opened fire.
And today, the former president will meet with the FBI to share his perspective on the events of July 13th.
That's interesting footage to me because it shows him running. Like, now keep in mind, guys, this is 400-ish feet away, so 150 to 200 yards away, right? And you see him moving like that. That's running to me on a metal roof. Like, I just don't understand how you don't hear that. My mom has a tin roof on her house, and I love it because whenever it's storming out there, whenever I was younger and I lived there, whenever it would storm, I would love hearing the droplets of rain hit the tin roof, right? And that would put me to sleep. I would love falling asleep I still love falling asleep during a storm, but particularly at her house because of that tin roof, that metal roof. So don't tell me you can't hear 100, I don't know how much he weighed, Crooks weighed, but 120, maybe 130 pounds, maybe whatever, soaking wet. I don't know. He seemed like a pretty scrawny kid to me. But whatever it was, he's 20 years old, so he's got to weigh over 100 pounds, I would think. But if I can hear droplets of rain hitting a metal roof, I'm going to hear a 120-pound man. I mean, he's 20 years old. He's a kid, but he's of legal age, right? Running around on a metal roof. Like, it's super simple. Because the walkways, now whether they're metal or not, but the way if you look at the AGR building from above, like, those are roofs. There's a construct of buildings that's around with little hallways, what looks like. And now what's on top of those, I don't know whether that's cement or whatever, but the rest of that is roof. Sloped roof, yeah, exactly. But the rest of that is roof. And so whenever you see him running horizontal, like, that's on the roof. So
seems like a point of interest for potential people protecting the president. Well, that's within eye shot, obviously, of a potential place where you'd have a perimeter for that, right?
If you would have had your snipers not bunched up together and 40 feet apart and had one on that roof or had one somewhere else even, like, right, you would have seen that. And not only that, Jamie, but get this. So Robert Rowe then testifies a week ago or whatever it is now that if they could have got their drone. So they now are saying that they had a drone. The Secret Service had a drone, but they couldn't get it online due to cellular bandwidth until 5 p.m. Well, the senator, and I can't remember if it was Grassley or Cruz or Hawley. I don't remember which senator said this, but one of them said, well, wait a minute. You guys said he was flying a drone around 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. 3:50 to 4 is what the testimony was. So how in the world did Cruz get his recreational drone up and running, but you guys couldn't with what I'm assuming they didn't just go purchase this drone from Walmart, the Secret Service anyway, but this is a government high-tech, government-grade drone because of cellular bandwidth. I'm not familiar with drones, so maybe if somebody is familiar with drones, they can let me know what in the world that even means. But it's just interesting to me that this kid, he got his drone up and running, but the Secret Service couldn't. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Sort of Jeffrey Epstein sort of situation here. Oh, the camera didn't work,
and
I fell asleep, and
or we don't have any recordings of the communication of the Secret Service. Even though local law enforcement does, they've handed their recordings over to the Congress, but Secret Service, Robert Rowe says, well, we don't have those recordings that what was being said by the Secret Service during that time. We didn't record it. We threw it out. We lost the Apollo moon mission tapes, guys. Like we threw them away, we recorded over them, whatever it was. Like that's kind of weird, but still, I think we went to the moon. But anyway, but that's like that, and it's just it blows me away. Like, what do you mean you don't have them? You don't want to turn them over? You destroyed them? To my knowledge, that kind of stuff gets recorded.
Two things.
Yep.
One thing first. This should be a big revelation to everyone, even our best patriots, that governing authority is not equal to competence. My question now becomes, to what degree can we attribute this level of stupid to incompetence?
Is it incompetence, though? Or is it competent?
That's what I'm asking. Is it incompetence, or was this a deliberate failure?
Right.
Never underestimate the power of stupidity, I guess some would say, but yeah,
I just don't think these people are that stupid.
When you work with the government every day and you see some of the things the government does,
right,
it makes you wonder. But
right.
Yeah, no, the fact is there's humans on every level, and we all, one thing as Christians, we know that all humans fail at some point.
That's true.
So there are incompetence that is to play, and there's also the fact that they weren't given the resources that they should have been given as well. That's another thing that wasn't brought up. They asked for more resources, it wasn't given to them. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this bag.
I like that you said that, David, because both Kim Cheadle now and Robert Rose said that. So two things they said, and I'll turn it over to Dale. They said, one, Kim Cheadle specifically said, and I forget the phrase she used, but basically she said, and I'm going to paraphrase, that she said denial doesn't mean vulnerability. So because they were denied those, that doesn't mean that Trump or whoever they denied them. Now, that's the fun. Was more vulnerable. Now, that's the thing, though. Both of them now have came out and said, so Robert Rowe and Kim Cheadle have said that all of the requested assets for July 13th was provided, which is interesting because you have different people from Trump's organization that I'm aware of have said something completely different. So what do you think's going on there?
Because it's nonsense. They wouldn't ask for more resources if they didn't think there was a vulnerability.
Right.
And that's all there is to it. Working security. I mean, the reason we ask for things is because there's usually a blind spot somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
If I ask for a mirror at my post, it's because I can't see somebody coming up.
Right.
So,
if I ask for, and you're right, because I work security too down in Florida, and if I'm asking for something, that means there is a gap somewhere else. And the reason I'm asking for assets is to, without being dirty, fill that gap, right?
But sometimes it takes something, and sometimes it takes something like this for you to start getting those resources, which is horrendous, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dale. I know you jumped in.
Yeah, so I just wanted to answer Josh's question. Like, why am I leaning? And besides my leaning, where I'm leaning, I think, look, there should be an investigation, actually investigating the facts and all that stuff properly.
By a third party, yeah.
By a third party, yes. But with the evidence that I have right here and now, why do I lean towards, I think it was deliberate, not just, and it comes down to a theory called, I don't know if you guys have heard, but I love this guy, Mentor Pilot, on YouTube.
Okay.
I watch his videos, and there's this thing called the Swiss cheese model. In order for there are so many backup plans that in order for an air traffic accident to occur, you need to have like 10 levels of Swiss cheese where all of the holes just happen to overlap, and only then will the aircraft go, right? If you have even one hunk of Swiss cheese where the hole's not aligned, it's not going to work. And that's what I see happening here, is that it must have been deliberate. The holes were designed to fail, I think. And another example that I haven't heard anyone mention here is this is another just common sense thing. Look, this guy, first of all, he was spotted coming in with a sniper scope or something. So he was on their radar right from the beginning. and he was spotted hanging around the building 30 minutes prior to the. Yeah, he had already been identified, right? And that's what I'm talking about now. And fans saw him climbing up, bringing a huge ladder to climb up onto the roof. They alerted the cops and stuff like that, that, hey, there's this guy. They alerted them, 2 minutes before that he was on the roof and crawling towards the thing or whatever. So cops knew about it, right? And the Secret Service, they knew about it. Not one of them could just call in and say, hey, we've got a situation here, get Trump off the stage. You don't need resources or assets or something like that. It's just one radio call, press a button, say, get Trump off the stage.
Did you hear the explanation to that, Dell?
It's complete rubbish.
The local law enforcement did not have radio communication directly to the Secret Service. Yeah. Somebody had to be physically present and to relay that information. This came out from Robert Rowe that they did not have, which is the dumbest thing in the world. Okay. Everybody, if you can't be on the same channel, like, be on the same friggin' radio, you know?
Well, that's what I mean, where it's deliberate kind of thing, right? That was a hole that was deliberately designed to match up with all the other holes.
That's messed up, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yep, and then now we just have a new candidate that's running that didn't get any votes, and
let's talk about that.
That's crazy, man. It blows my mind.
Real quick, before we segue to that, just real quick, let me ask one final question about the Trump shooting, and I want to go around the table and then just provide a quick answer, and then we'll move on to that. I promise. As Christians, is there an appropriate way to respond to the shooting event? And let me kick this off by saying I think there is, first and foremost, and I think it's the exact opposite of where I see on TikTok specifically. I haven't seen this on Twitter as much. Maybe it's because of the algorithm, whatever, but specifically where I see people being legitimately, and we're going to go PG-13 here, but pissed off that Trump, that crooks missed Trump. You had one job. I see the memes. I see the videos that are being made about this crazy dude. Like I don't even know who it was, and even if I did, I wouldn't say his name just to not give him clout. But to throw your hands up in the air and say, you missed. You had the perfect shot and you blew it, right? I think it's appropriate for Christians to respond to any acts of violence, anything, and I'm not going pacifist here, but that, my friends, was an assassination attempt. Murder is wrong. I don't care if it's Joe Biden. I don't care if it's Kamala Harris. I don't care if it's Donald Trump. We don't take a shot at these people. We just don't. But then you think about, well, how our country was founded and this, that, and the other. And so there's definitely tension there, right? What's the point? Is there a point in which we do revolt? Is there a point? Because this is how our country was founded. It wasn't because we took smack from our king, right? We founded this country because we left in a bloody way. So, go ahead.
Let me just back you up. So this is Piers Morgan's test, right? When he had that nutball Destiny on the left wing on his show, and he utterly made a fool of himself, right? But he phrases it this way. He's like, look, of course I would shoot and assassinate. If it was Adolf Hitler, we're told over and over again by the left-wing media that Trump's literally Hitler. He's literally committing a Holocaust.
Yes.
So the answer is yes. I would shoot and kill literally Hitler. But it's a total lie that Trump is literally Hitler.
Right.
These people are dangerous and extreme. Yeah, and by the way, it's a lie that Biden is literally Joseph Stalin or something. He's not going around killing millions. But so we've got to keep it real. But yes, I do want to say there is a time, and I said this on the last show with David, I would shoot and kill Hitler if I could. I would shoot and kill Joseph Stalin if I could, if I was in the area to do it, just to save millions of lives.
Yeah.
The media, especially the left wing, by equating Trump, they have blood on their hands for what happened, I think, partially.
Yeah. Go ahead. Anybody else who wants to jump on this? Like, I hope you guys see my tension, because you're right, Dale. I think you're right. And so to say to come out and say we condemn every act of violence, I don't, let me put it like this. I don't know if that's the right response. It doesn't seem like that's the right response, because you're right. If we have somebody like Hitler, or if I'm saying, right, that, and now maybe this would work, maybe this wouldn't work, but I almost guarantee you guys, and I want to hear if y'all agree with me or not, that if that was an open carry event, if the Trump rally, if you could legally open carry there, if Crooks tried to do what he did, he would have never got the opportunity to do that. I really believe that with my whole heart. But with all that being said, go on. Let's keep going around the table here.
Hindsight's 2020. The idea of killing Hitler or Stalin or whatever, I can't really condemn someone for taking that position. I think from my tradition, I would say it's not appropriate, but at the same time, I'm torn. So that's kind of my position, I suppose.
Yeah.
Seemed like after the fact, I would say I really can't condemn someone for taking that position. I would just say, no, I don't think you should. So I don't think it's ever appropriate, probably, but I may just be in that sort of mood. So,
well, you're right. You're right, Jamie, because from Dell's perspective, right, it definitely seems like defense, right? Now, let's bring up, oh man, and I forget, maybe you guys can help me out here. So there's a recent Illinois cop civilian shooting that has just happened. It's huge in news because it's a white cop and an African American or black older lady, I think, Sonia. I want to say her first name is Sonia. Maybe it's Massey. I don't know. I don't want to get details wrong here, guys. So if y'all can, maybe one of you guys can look that up. But it's in Illinois. Basically, a white cop shot and killed a black woman who was unarmed. She was at her kitchen. She was cooking. Now, I don't know the details, so obviously there's a story with this. So, but she lifts
Sonia
up her
Massey.
hands. Sonia Massey. Okay, I thought so. I just didn't want to get that wrong. But anyway, I seen the video, and she is at the kitchen. She has a pot, and she lifts up her hands. She's got an oven mitt, so a wearable oven mitt on one hand, and she has one of those flat square oven mitts kind of in the other that drops or whatever. And the cop essentially shoots her in the face. I'm not saying that jokingly. I'm not saying that to be lighthearted about it. Like, this is a serious matter. And so I would condemn that, right? The same way I would condemn the Trump assassination attempt or a Biden assassination attempt, because that's offense to me. But defense is a little bit different. Josh and I, and y'all were a part of this, I believe. We did our last open mic about self-defense. And if somebody came in and tried to hurt our wives or children or us, right, we would be the first to pull the trigger in that scenario. So again, like I said, I'm torn, because do we condemn offense? Do we condemn defense? Again, I think it's circumstantial. But let's keep going. Go ahead, guys.
Just last comment, guys, on that. I'll just say we're not for abortions are okay for baby Hitler, or are we?
No,
Sorry,
no.
it's kind of a joke, right?
You're right. You're right. But that's a good point. Like, would we kill Hitler as a baby knowing what we know? And I believe that answer is no. No. You don't punish somebody for doing, and see, this is the thing. So this is where I'm torn again, right? This could go a lot of different directions, guys. So do we shoot Crooks before he gets a shot off? Because if you think about it, no, we don't punish somebody for something that they might do. Now, I think intent is there. If you've got a gun out and you're lining up you know what he's getting ready to do. He's not just getting a better view, right? But generally, no, Jamie, we don't punish people for something they might do, right?
The iniquity of the Amalekites has to reach full vision.
But here's
right, Jamie.
All right. I would. And that's the thing. We don't have that. I want to hear Josh's, because I'm gonna give mine at the end. I think. No,
that's fine.
Pretty good.
Good, Josh.
Well, first of all, shout out to BJ for the pacifism subject from the last open mic. That was actually one of the cooler subject changes that lasted for quite some time. But ultimately, I would say if we want a biblical precedent for this, as an American, I can say that it's utterly lawful for somebody to defend their home. It is utterly lawful to dethrone tyrants and so forth. But unfortunately, unfortunately for America, I'm a dual citizen, and my first citizenship is not to America; it's in fact to the kingdom. And so, if that's going to inform my thinking and my doing here, there was a much worse government in place during the writing of the New Testament, and not once is there any inclination that anybody would be satisfied or condone, especially the Apostle Paul, looking at anything like Romans 12. There's nothing like anything, even remotely resembling an assassination attempt, or anything that would even seem like a condoning of an attempt, or even the thought of the idea, right? Like there's nothing that I can see in there that would say this comports with New Testament theology. However, that's not the same as engaging in conflict for self-defense, or in engaging in a fair war, or any other such thing. This is utterly different, right? But there's no evidence in the New Testament that if the Christians were more numerous, that they would have overthrown the Romans by force. I don't see that. And so while I am an American and I'm blessed to be here and we're privileged and it's wonderful and all that, it's just not something that, like the assassination attempt specifically, is not something that comports with what I understand New Testament theology to be talking about, especially in the way that we are meant to interact with others. And then the other thing that was, would you kill Hitler, baby Hitler, or otherwise? To be honest with you, because I don't affirm the B theory of time, I don't feel bound to that. And if I were to go back to the past to do anything to Hitler, I would go way previous to his madness, and I would try to evangelize him before the First World War.
Yeah, don't forget to tell him not to get syphilis and go mad either.
Yeah, I'd probably cut off his fingers so he couldn't pursue art or saxophone, and he'd have to,
He'd probably hate Americans more, and we'd have been the ones he attacked first.
Right. Yeah, there's all kinds of things that we could have deviated in the past before we ever got to that point. And oftentimes we always go, we'll cut him off before it happens. And then we do exactly what Tyler was pointing out, is like, you judge and punish someone for their potential. I don't think that's a good look either.
So like, here's my whole thing. Okay. And I'll start from the top because Dale asked this question, and Dale got into the Hitler thing and stuff like that. First off, no, I don't think an assassination attempt on Hitler when he was running as to be the Chancellor of Germany would have been the appropriate thing. For you as a Canadian, and if you would have been in Germany at that time, it would have been your job to try to kill him because you would have been in World War II. So at that point, it would have been justified because you're in a time where you're at war. So as far as that goes, no, I wouldn't have condoned an assassination attempt on Hitler when he was running for vice chancellor or whatever. I think there's a time and place for these things to occur, just like our American Revolution. Was our American Revolution wrong? No, absolutely not. Why? Because we appealed. We didn't try to assassinate King George. We appealed to him. We wrote a Declaration of Independence. You had a local government, a local colonies, governing colonies that weren't receiving representation in England. They sent a letter declaring their independence. Britain came and invaded those local governments, and those local governments defended themselves and created a constitutional army to defend their home. So that was a defensive war, if you ask me. That's totally justified. You had a local government versus a top government, or a overseeing government, okay, that was not representing them. So they felt like they were on their own, and they let the king know, hey, look, we are on our own. This is our declaration. All right. They did everything by the book, as far as that. And they said, and they bid them to come and take it back. If you want us back, come and get us. And they came and they lost. So with that said, I think that war was completely justified. So when it comes down to violence and self-defense, absolutely do we have the right to defend ourselves? Absolutely. Do we go back in time and kill baby Hitler? No, because he was innocent. He was an innocent person at the time. You have to judge it in relative to the time that you're there. You know, like Dale, if he was a Canadian and had a chance to shoot at Hitler, it would have been his job to do it because he would have been a Canadian soldier probably over in Germany during World War II. So there's times and there's places. So hindsight, we can say, yeah, we would do this, but if we really think about it, there's so many mitigating circumstances that would lead up to a thing just like our revolution that would determine how we act in that situation morally and as Christians. So can we say as Christians that the Trump assassination was bad? Yes, absolutely. It was wrong. And it would be wrong if it was on Biden as well. These guys are running to be a president. And as Dale said, there's a complete night and day difference between people like Stalin and Biden and Trump. And then lastly, I just want to say this before we cap this off is that, we have to consider all the mitigating circumstances. There are things that lead up to a situation. There's always circumstances that lead up to the boiling point.
Yep.
And we have to be mindful of that whenever we respond to anything like that.
Jamie, you make a good point. Just real quick, God didn't take Satan out before he fell. Kind of. Pretty much. Go ahead, Del.
I'm feeling a little bit straw man, right? So I answered under very specific circumstances. You're not allowed to say, well, maybe I could have slapped Hitler in the face and he would have become the best guy ever. Like, of course, if we're just talking about time travel, there are other options and stuff like that. I'm answering the case of 6 million people dead or you shoot Hitler. That's it. Those are your only options. In that case, yeah, I would preemptively shoot Hitler even during an election. If I've got absolute knowledge, that's what God has. And you said, well, but he's innocent of the crimes at that time. Great. That didn't stop God from killing innocent people, innocent children and babies in the Old Testament, because that's not wrong. He knew in the future they would be evil and what consequences would result. So he had the right. It was justified. It's never ideal. I mean, the taking of even the worst scumbag in the world, it's never a good thing in and of itself to take a life. That's always bad. That's against the design plan. Even for Hitler, it's a tragic loss of life for Hitler and Stalin. But God killed people even when they were innocent, and that's right. That's justified. I will never condemn God. It's like if God ordered me to kill Hitler during an election, I wouldn't go, yeah, but God, it's during the election. He's innocent now. I can't just wait until after he kills a few people.
Yeah, and I would respond to that, Dale, and say God wouldn't tell you to do that because God doesn't kill innocent people.
But he did in the Old Testament.
I don't think he did. I don't think he killed innocent people in the Old Testament.
I think he did.
I take Copan's view on that. I don't think that things were quite.
Is this like the baby Amalekites dying issue? Kind of.
Yeah.
Thing?
Yeah.
Well,
I think that Dale has. I think Dale has a good point. And Jamie, you brought this up in the private chat. This is the trolley dilemma, right? Like the trolley car dilemma, where there's 5 people on one track, 1 person on another track, or 2 people on this track, 14 people on that track. However you want to parse that out. Right. Are you going to take the minimal possible loss, the maximal possible loss? How do you justify either or? And some other such thing. When I was answering, I actually didn't conceive of it as a trolley car kind of scenario. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to how it was structured, or I missed that part. But that I wasn't trying to implicate Dale. I was just giving my own kind of 2 cents as to why scenarios like that for me just don't compute. But if it were a trolley car situation like you just laid out, Dale, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, I just the reason I give it as that case is because that's what the atheists and unbelievers do to people like me or William Lane Craig. I was watching that disgusting Dark Matter 2525 and his video on William Lane Craig. It was, I don't know, it angers me because it's just such a straw man and so unfair. So, yeah. But yeah, I was setting it up the way the unbelievers do.
And G, I think what Dale means by innocent is the children that were affected by the flood. Is that what?
Do
you
any
mean,
of you
Dale?
guys take the total depravity view there? I'm not sure if it.
Oh,
Are,
no.
are you guys all?
No. I no.
Okay.
I don't. I
Total
won't-
depravity.
I
dies
know
for me,
Josh
too.
don't. I'll let the other two guys speak for themselves on that one, but no, we don't.
I think if anything, there are
I-
nuanced views of depravity that you could articulate that makes sense. But I really don't think that anybody here would say that babies are born guilty of anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I think one way I think about it regarding the innocence of the children, I kind of tend to lean towards the view something like God sent warnings to the, let's say, the pre-Noachian world. That's what First Peter seems to teach in my mind. Is this the gospel was preached to them in the sense of reconciliation from evil, calling on the name of the Lord, all that stuff. People started to do that after the fall, and they're fallen. It's not really clear, but it seems like you could argue something like the blood of the children is on the hands of the parents who are responsible for the judgments that God gave warning for. So God, in fact, in no way is guilty of the death of the children, but the parents are responsible for the children. Is that even viable? Maybe not. I'm not sure.
I wonder if we're not thinking about death in that scenario as more of like a punishment if we're not thinking about it in a wrong way. Now, did God flood the world because of the sin that was in it? Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So I'm torn on this one, guys. Like, I see where Dell's coming from, but at the same time, I don't see God being a hypocrite either. There's a reason God told us not to murder people, right? So to say, yeah, but God did it to babies, like, I don't know. What's Copen's view,
Hey,
Dale or David?
No, but God takes the life of babies every day. He is the giver and taker of life.
That's
okay?
right.
So
and the power of life and death is in his hands.
It's in hands. So I mean,
Right.
he's held to an even different. His standard's not the same because he's not us. This goes to how we treat each other and stuff like that. But if God wants to take my life right now, or your life right now, or anybody's life that's his prerogative. He's justified in doing that. And for him, it's not something that's like murder or something like that. Okay,
Right.
it's not murder. He's just changing your location from this earth to that plane of existence.
Yeah.
From this plane of existence to that plane of existence.
I could
And
see
that's the
not.
difference.
I could see how somebody would take that and say, "Well, I'm not killing anybody. I'm just like John Wick. I'm just giving you a
Sending him
move.
home early.
I'm sending you home. Yeah,
Yeah,
kill them all. Let God sort them out.
I'm just
Yeah.
making your appointment with Jesus.
Right. Adele, I heard you try to jump in, and then let's go to the Olympics after this because I got to run here in a little bit.
I totally don't buy that. That is hypocritical. That's totally arbitrary. God isn't an Indian giver. When he gives us life, he operates under the same moral values that we do, right? God can't just murder someone because
He's not
hey, I
murdering
gave you
them.
the life, I can do
He's
it.
taking them to a
Like
different
us,
place.
all moral agents have to have a morally justified reason to exempt the principle of life preservation. That applies to God, and that applies to human beings. Now,
but Dale, they're not dead
that's
to
the
him.
last thing I'll say. Why do we have a moral duty not to murder? Where again, we're not omniscient. God knows the future. He knows absolute certainty that Hitler will become Hitler. Whereas with us, we're in the situation that Josh gave. Maybe I could give him art lessons. I mean, Hitler was actually a really good guy into his early 20s. He tried to become an artist, but he failed. He was mocked and laughed at or something. He was rejected by the Academy. Let's make him successful. And then, oh, great, millions of lives will be saved, and maybe he'll be a great artist or something like that. We'll be worshiping Hitler paintings today. Yeah, like for all we know, there are myriad of options, and that's why we only use death as a last resort to the best of our knowledge. We're doing the best we can, but that's not a limitation with God. He knows.
My thing though, Dale, is that that death is to God is very different than death to us on this plane. If he takes somebody from this plane of existence to another plane of existence, that's his prerogative. He's allowed to do that. He takes the innocent babies away every day. There's millions of kids that die. And matter of fact, infant mortality rate was higher way back in the day, was over 50% in our past. So, I mean, God took people. It is his prerogative to give life and then take it away. He takes it home. For him, it's different than it is for us, because we look at death as a mortality, as a finality, when for God, it's just a change in location. That would be my point.
Let me jump in as the final word on this one then, and then we'll move on to the Olympics. I just want to add to that something as nobody has said that I've heard. Sorry, I had a meltdown that I had to deal with a minute ago, by all three of my lovely women in my life. But let me just say this too: God's thoughts are not our thoughts. God's ways are higher than us, and his thoughts are higher than us. And so I definitely, though I'm torn, right, I think that's an important factor to factor in this conversation, is that there are God's mental capacity is so above ours that we don't comprehend it, right? That's what the Bible says, and I'm cool to leave it at that point. Why? First of all, God doesn't have to justify to us why he does anything, right? He's creator. He's God. We're not. Second of all, I genuinely believe that for every action that God does is good, right? And so, man, I thought that was a mask. Like, I thought that was a creepy little grudge girl behind you, David, just a second ago.
Daughter trying to sneak in.
Woo! That was like, wait a second. Something's about to go down here. David's about to get assassinated. He watched a video 7 days ago, and now things are about to pop off here live on Faith Unaltered. He's going to get snatched up. But so with that being said, I do believe that God is love. I believe that all of God's actions are good. Jesus said, no one is good but God, right? So he is the standard of good. And I don't know if I can say this like this, but metaphysically, ontologically, God is good, whatever that means. And so with that being said, I think God could give a reason for doing anything that would be so far above us that we would just have to say, yep, you're right. So, all right. With that being said, guys, good stuff. Let's transition to the Olympics. Speaking of transitioning, I don't know if that was a good choice of words or not, but we're going to go with it. Speaking of transitioning, guys, I'm sure you've heard about it now because it's been all over the interwebs. But apparently a man beat up a woman on the Olympics, live on TV. We could watch it all. I've done some research on this, and I don't know if it's as cut and dry like that. I think there's a debacle between the International Boxing Association and the International Olympic Committee. Now, the story is that, and let me look up, I'm going to use there because I don't know at this point, unless you guys have evidence that I don't. Because I don't know. So basically what has happened is there's some bad things going on, potentially between Angela Carini, who is the Italian boxer that took on Imane Khalif, who is fighting out of, let me verify this real quick. Italian boxer Angela, and this is from CNN, so super left article here. Italian boxer Angela Carini has apologized after quitting her bout at the Paris Olympics in 46 seconds, a viral moment that has led to online abuse of her Algerian opponent, Imane Khalif. So Algeria is who Imane is fighting under. And the controversy is some things that have happened in 2022 and 2023. I haven't been able to find anything specifically about testing. What has came out is that the International Boxing Association, the IBA, has their president, Umran, what is the, hold on, International Boxing Association president, I guess it would be. Let's see here. Presidente Umar Kremlev has made statements now that basically state that these two, so there were two women, but the one are two people that are in question with the IAB or the IBA, excuse me. Imran and Khalif, and then someone from Taiwan. I'm pretty sure this is. Anybody can just look up the Olympic boxing scandal or conspiracy or controversy, I guess would be the right word. But you see two names floating around. Imran Khalif and then another boxer who is Taiwan. Now here's the thing, and so let me get to the meat of this. So the IBA came out recently, and I think Umran the president made a statement in 2022 and then in 2023 that both of these people who is in question failed an eligibility test. Whatever that means. That's where I'm kind of blurry in my research, because people are kind of keeping under wraps what exactly that testing was. But according to the president, it revealed that both people in question, the Taiwan and then the Algerian boxer, both had XY. The quote was proved to have XY chromosomes. Now, the other side of this, right, from articles like CNN and USA Today and all your left-leaning big wig mainstream media posts and articles are basically stating that the Olympics accepted them as female competitors based on their passports. Now, just on the surface, that seems kind of funky to me. I know you have to have a birth certificate to get a passport, but with the technology and the resources that we have, I don't know. To me, guys, it seems a little easy to fake that. But I'm torn with this. Maybe we should have just titled this episode Tyler's Torn instead of David's Controversial, because I'm torn on a lot of these, because I don't think there's been enough time. Now, with the Trump assassination thing, that I'm not torn about that. But I am torn about this, maybe because it's so new, maybe because we're waiting on the facts to come out about these people because they're under a microscope, so a lot of things are going to come out. But what initially happened was there was one side that people basically said this poor Italian victim, this woman boxer got in a ring with someone with XY chromosomes, and basically he beat the crap out of her, so much so that she stopped 46 seconds into the match and was making statements like, I've never been hit that hard in my life. Now, the other side of that, maybe she's just a weak boxer. I don't know. But the other side of that, so Fox interviewed, and I don't know the name of this person. She's the Irish boxer, Amy. I think her name's Amy. Well, I want to look it up because, like I said, guys, I want to get my facts right. I want to be good, a truthful and honest reporter on these things. And so maybe I should have done this beforehand. Irish Olympic, hold on, boxer, female. Her name is not Kelly Harrington. Here we go. Her name is Amy Broadhurst. Okay, I was right. So this Amy Broadhurst has actually beat Imane Khalif. So boxing world champion Amy Broadhurst, this is from Fox, was among the women to beat Algerian Imane Khalif, the fighter in the middle of a gender controversy at the Paris Olympics, and spoke about her former opponent on Wednesday. Broadhurst of Ireland was a gold medalist in the 2022 International Boxing Association. By the way, this is the same event that Imane Khalif was kicked out for. She was disqualified because apparently she failed this test, which it's interesting. All the other women passed the test. So that's a red flag for me that these two other didn't, and they were disqualified by the IBA. By the way, the IBA is one of the big wigs in the boxing association. They are the International Boxing Association, actually. Women's World Championships. And then Amy, actually beat Khalif in the finals. So Khalif was then disqualified from a 2023 tournament for what the IBA president said. So Umran, what he said at the time was that it was, quote, proved that Khalif had XY chromosomes, end quote. And what Amy Broadhurst, the Irish competitor, says about this is that, quote, the IBA said Wednesday that Khalif had competitive advantages over other female competitors. Broadhurst also weighed in, saying, quote, I've had a lot of people text me over Eman Khalif. She wrote in a post on X, quote, personally, I don't think she has done anything to cheat, end quote. Quote, I think that this is the way that she was born, and that's out of her control. The fact that she has been beaten by 9 females before says it all, end quote. On Thursday, Broadhurst asked her followers what they thought of her win over Khalif in the 2022. Broadhurst posted the footage on her social media, quote, if this is a man and it becomes 100% fact, Amy says, I'll be disgusted that I was in the ring and so was many others, end quote. Broadhurst wrote in a response in one comment, quote, a man versus a woman is far from okay, but right now nobody knows what the true facts are, end quote. And that's kind of where I'm at, right? And so, but there's a lot of different things here happening. So she's been beaten before by other female competitors. That says something. The fact that these women, all these women who participated in the IBA that passed this test, but these two didn't, that says something. And so those are the two. Just because the Italian girl quit don't really register. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me at this point. Maybe she was weak, whatever. Maybe she wasn't prepared for her opponent, whatever, right? But those two things that I just mentioned, those are the things that kind of stand out to me first and foremost. So, guys, what do you think about this, and what are your thoughts? And whoever wants to jump in on this one.
I think GU in the comments has a point that women weren't initially combat sport combatants, and this is a weird new scenario that doesn't have much basis in history and creates its own gray area, let alone the jester-like show that we live in now, where male and female are blurred categories because of some semantic argument that people want to make. I think that this is precedent that's leading the world into a place where they make gray area where it isn't.
Yeah, I think there is difficulty in determining. You can't just say, oh, certain chromosomes necessarily means you are a man or a woman. I think it's more complicated than that. When I've looked at the issues of, I mean, I think some of the issues brought forward make a gray area are not a gray area, but I think it's hard to make definitions regarding chromosomes because of some rare issues that occur. But I think it's mainly comes down to like the hormone production you have as you're aging that really makes you not fit to compete in female combat sports, something like that. Which isn't saying much, I suppose, but
go ahead, David. Dale.
I'm not sure. Like, for me, I'm not sure because again, I don't know exactly enough about the situation. I haven't given it much thought. I don't think I'd be doing any service to anybody giving an opinion on it. But yeah, I'm a little bit different than Jamie when it comes to chromosomes and stuff. I think that, there are biological factors that come into play that that men have, XY and stuff like that. And if you have another one, then you have another one, right? So
do you think, let me just clarify that, David, do you think anybody with an XY chromosome then should be considered male?
Yeah, I do.
Or is it more complicated than that?
No, I think that that's where the science tells us, Are there exceptions to this? Yeah, some people are born blind too, but it doesn't mean that that's the norm. That's what it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be able to see, So I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say that everything's clear cut, but like Josh said, I think we make gray areas where there shouldn't be any. But
I don't hear you.
Let me say this.
Jamie Lee Curtis exists.
Jamie Lee Curtis does exist. But I think these rules, right? I think these gray areas should be designated for people who actually have a problem.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Who actually are born with the deformity, who are actually feel like they are isolated because there's not very many people like them. We know what the science says about those people, and it's very, very low. The percentage of people who are actually born like that is very, very low. What I don't think these should apply to is people who feel like they are women that are actually men trapped in a man's body, or vice versa. Yeah. I think that is setting the let me just say this real quick, and I'll turn it back over to you. I think these people who do that, right, are exploiting people with real medical conditions for their own gain. And I think it's BS, and I think it needs to stop right now.
Yeah. Yes.
I agree.
Just to be clear.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And we have that for other people. We have it for the Special Olympics.
That's right.
Why don't we make it a separate category? I mean, we can.
Right, because it's not offensive for the Special Olympics to say, well, you've got a medical condition, right? To say, okay, you can have this. We're going to honor you. And people love the Special Olympics. Those people believe and feel included when you do something. It's not a divisive thing. It's to include people with medical conditions that I'm a big fan of, right? But for me then to go, well, I want to participate. I want an advantage. So I'm going to cut off my arm and say, let's go. Nah, I wouldn't do that with my arm. I wouldn't do that with my private parts. I wouldn't do that anything, right? And I think people need to stop. I think I don't think it gives an excuse for people to do that, right? I think the transgender ideology and the movement, I think it's a condition. I think it's a delusion that needs to be addressed by doctors. I really do. I think it's a problem within our society that it needs to be dealt with. It needs to be stopped. Not influence. We don't peer pressure. We don't encourage delusion, right? We are all for reality, but we do not. That's like saying somebody that's having what's the word I'm looking for? Somebody that's not perceiving reality correctly, right? And now I know what some people are going to say, well, reality is subjective, bruh. Like, no, it's not. There's objective reality that we all form and could not exist even, especially together, if we didn't abide by those certain standards and those certain laws, right? But to reel this back just a little bit, I really believe that the whole delusion and people encouraging that is sick. I think that needs to stop. I think people need to be shown tough love, and we need to just stop this ridiculousness that it is. I'm not transphobic. I'm not scared of anything like that. But I think it's a problem. What I'm scared about is people who would encourage people to live in a delusion. That's scary to me. But I don't want to be labeled transphobic because I'm not. I love these people, which is why I want to tell them the truth. Love demands truth, y'all. And if we can't get that grasped, we've got bigger problems than Imam Khalif or the Taiwanese boxer that is under this same scrutiny at this point. So I'll leave it there, and and turn it back over to you guys. And I just dropped my chicken salad on the floor.
I think you said, yeah.
I was going to say, I pretty much said my piece on the whole. I mean, Jamie asked a really interesting question in the private chat about if souls are gendered, and is it theoretically possible that a soul could be misplaced in some sense. I can give a short gist on that, not to be like terribly controversial or anything, but I do believe that our bodies are symbols of our immaterial person and not the other way around. And I think the modern world is kooks for making that reversed, that you are a body and your soul is just a metaphysical or a metaphorical idea that represents your person, right? Your personality type, which are all technically reducible to the brain activity and your upbringing, this nature versus nurture sort of thing. So I think it's a materialistic tendency to assume that souls are not actually what we mean by the gendered person. And I do believe that the body is a symbol of the person rather than the person being a symbol and the body being the primary reality, mainly because I don't believe that material reality is primary. I believe that it is contingent and it was created by the immaterial. And so I don't see any conflict here in saying that the soul could be in fact gendered in that way. But even still, and we've said this on other open mic nights, that I think that all things are in some sense gendered in that sense, because God calls himself masculine, and that's not because he has man parts or chromosomes. It's because in relation to him, all things are feminine. All things are to receive. All things are then forms out of which new forms emerge. And God is the static, structured provider. That's what he is, which is why we're called fathers when we have children as men, and we're not called mothers, and mothers bear and men beget. It's right. The same thing. It's a relational term when it's being used in that metaphorical sense, right?
It's the physical reality. Sense. Yeah, it's the physical reality of a spiritual truth.
Exactly. And so I think that this is reality tends, especially organic life in reality, tends to make itself into an automatic bifurcation. And it's not just our arbitrary fancy that makes the thing, right? It's something that is an actual difference between two different things fundamentally. The same difference is present between the sun and the moon, scripturally speaking, in the first chapter of Genesis, that you have a greater light to rule the day and a lesser light to rule the night. And these things are always understood, even symbolically, as pairs for male and female, or masculine and feminine. Same with sky and land, land and water, and so forth. Darkness and light, chaos and order, and such things. These symbolic categories are always bifurcated in that way, and they match reality, and humans embody that bifurcation, and rightfully so. It's the union of the two things that brings about the one flesh. And so I think that because of the fact that God is infallible, I don't think that there's any way for a soul to be misplaced, even post-fall. So I would say off top that I don't think that that's a possibility, simply because I believe that God is without error.
To say corruption nature, right?
Good stuff.
Yeah. Anyways,
to say a soul is misplaced, it almost gives that idea. And maybe you guys touched on this. Sorry, I had to grab a little loudmouth over here. But no, you can't have that. But to say like a soul is misplaced, like kind of seems to, in my mind anyway, maybe it doesn't for you guys, but it kind of like seems like the soul and the body are separated in a way before creation, before you are, or I guess for our existence relative to us, it would kind of be like sans, what would that be? Whenever the sperm and the egg meet, I'm blanking. Conception. Sans conception. It's like our soul is kind of out, hanging out, waiting for a body. By the way, that's Jewish mythology. The
Mormons like concept.
That too. There is the Mormons that like that. Yeah. But it almost gives that idea. So I don't know.
Up there
Jamie, did you have that in mind, or am I just kind of far left on that one? You're muted, bub.
I think it's the only time you might be left, Tyler.
It might be.
Well,
I am very right.
I'm kind of probing at my disagreement with some dualist ideas, but also I think the way you guys were talking about it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, I think if the duality is taken too far, it opens up the door for ideas that don't make a lot of sense. But I think the way Josh put it together made sense. But yeah. So that's it. I was curious how you guys tackle that.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. And by the way, so we are still doing an open mic, guys. If you got comments, if you've got, I know Warren's doing his watch party with James White is debating an open theist. That's not Warren, which is why I'm not watching it, because I think kind of what James White did there was a cop out. But it is what it is. Like, James White's human. He fails, right? Even though I don't think he thinks he does. Anyway, we won't get that controversial.
I heard word that this might be James White's last debate.
Well,
ever?
Wouldn't
it needs to be? It kind of needs to be
needs
at
to
this
be.
point. He needs to retire. Like, he's done.
By what standard, Tyler? Are you presupposing that?
Yeah, I am. By a lot of evidence. I'll just say it like that. I'll just say he's not the same James White he used to be. The one that I grew up to admire in his apologetics against Roman Catholics. Younger, he was sharp. Now he just likes to ad hom and strawman people. Like, he's not as sharp as he used to be.
The colors on his sweaters are sharp now.
Coogee, bro. James White is
his colorful bow ties.
James White is Gucci.
Anyway, I like James White sweaters. They're nice.
I liked his bow ties back in the day, but
yeah.
Now he's replaced them with the sweaters. So anyway. All right, guys, last topic, and then we'll shut down. If nobody has questions, again, please feel free. If you're enjoying the stream, you want to donate to our cause to keep these things kind of going, please, Tyler Fowler, come to church. I am coming to church. We found out what Kelsey, for those who don't know, she had a little breakout session the other day. We were at church, and she started breaking out in hives. So Jeremy, if you prayed for her, I appreciate that, because they have went away. The only thing we can chalk it up to is maybe stress. Maybe she was, I don't know.
It's hot up there.
It wasn't a heat rash. I looked at that, and we kind of did some comparison. Now, none of us are medical experts or anything like that. But it were definitely, I thought they were bites, and no, they turned out to be what we think are hives. They were all up and down her back, on her neck, and on her throat. We thought she was having an allergic reaction to something. We gave her some Benadryl, some antihistamines. They started to go down. It wasn't getting any worse. And then a few days later, so about 3 days later, I think it was, she is completely healed now. So she's still got kind of hive residue, where you could see where they were, but they're not all inflamed. They're not real pink or red
residue
anymore. I don't know what else to call it, bro. Hive residue.
Remnants.
Well, whatever. It's the same thing. You know what I meant. So hashtag hive residue. And we'll go there. So
I believe that's called honey.
That's called honey, yeah.
Funny. Did the curfew in Canada start?
Good job.
It did. Look at it. Ain't this just the cutest little thing? The most innocent,
Dude, she's so round. Oh my lord.
Non-totally depraved thing you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
I think she is.
Oh,
she kind of looks. Was she born with a leather jacket and sunglasses and bad?
She was. She was
from the Excellent Glory.
James Demon.
Funny story. Bad to the Bone was actually playing whenever she came out.
Tight.
That's a true story. That's a true story I just made up. So
both of my kids were born with Bob Marley playing in the background. Technically speaking,
not well. I won't say it here.
Anyway.
Exactly. All right, guys. Last topic. And then but anyway, I say that to say James White needs to retire. That's where we'll keep that. But anyway, after this, go check out Warren's channel, I Love Idol Killer. We're doing a lot of collab, and we've got collabs coming up in the future. We might be going through Tulip. We've already touched on Total Depravity with Father John Whiteford. Father John said that he would like to. Oh, speaking of which, I'll be right back in just a second. But we might go through Tulip with Warren, with Father John, all at the same time. People seem to really like Warren collabing with an Eastern Orthodox priest, and that was very interesting conversation. So we're trying to turn Warren Eastern Orthodox. So it might happen. He got me to admit that God is dynamic omniscient. So the I'm not an open theist, obviously, but I definitely hold to mere dynamic omniscience now. So with that being said, we're going to try to get him back and convert him, at least in principle, to at least upholding the Nicene and Constantinopolitan Creed. We'll see where it goes. I think he does that already, so he's kind of already Eastern Orthodox. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But I will be giving, by the way, in a couple more streams, I will be giving away an icon. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to go get it here in just a second. I'm going to be giving away an icon to anybody that wants it, right? So if you would like to do that, I think I'm just going to give it away one day so you don't have to enter. Just somebody here on the stream is going to get one. So what we've done before, oh, sweetie, it's okay. What we've done before is put everybody in the chat that announces their self. We put them in a random name generator, and whoever is here, that's how you enter the contest. And so be on the lookout. Subscribe if you haven't yet to get notified. This won't be a members only giveaway, but we are going to be doing members only giveaways very soon. But let me announce this next topic real quick. I'll let you guys talk about it. I'll go get the icon, and then it was the very first icon I ever got. And so it's going to be hard parting with this, but I think it will do someone some good somewhere if they would like it. So with that being said, the next topic and the last topic of the night, unless you guys have questions, is the Last Supper rendition at the Olympic opening ceremony. Now, some people have said that it's not that. It's Dionysius. Guys, the Greek god Dionysius, David, our mutual friend Jordan from Reason to Doubt, came on and talking a little smack. You know how Jordan is. He's a super nice guy. I really like Jordan, but he gets a little lippy sometimes. And I don't talk back. I don't smack talk back if I don't have the receipts. And so I kind of quieted down and let him, have the spotlight for a second. But Jordan, I'm back. And I'm ready to respond now because I got those receipts, buddy. So keep watching if you are. And this might be a fun conversation for the future. But anyway, so I'm going to go attack Jordan. No, I'm going to attack his arguments, not the person. But the Olympics, opening ceremony, you guys go. Let me know what you think about that. And all of our topics are, if you have not participated in the show, if you're in the chats, if you're watching this in the future, let me know what you think about all this stuff. I would love to hear from our audience. I want to get to know our audience more. Please let me know what you think about all of our topics. Comment. And if you like this stream, please share it. All of our links you can be found in our Linktree. It's always in the description. So click our Linktree. That will provide you links with our TikTok, where we release exclusive content, our Twitter, where you see me rant sometimes, and then our email, which is faithunaltered@gmail.com. And also, if you would like to donate, the links to our Venmo, our Cash App, and our PayPal can all be found in our Linktree link in the description. So please check that out, and you guys take it away. I'm going to go grab this icon real quick and show it to everybody, and go ahead, take it away.
All right, Josh, why don't you go first, man?
Yeah, I figured that was coming. Well, since they both walked away, I would take a moment to say that to be honest with you, haven't been bothered to watch the actual footage. I've seen enough pictures. The imagery is rather obvious and explicit. If you want to know what I would say on this in a way that's actually better staged than I probably would have said it, you can look up Symbolic World channel on YouTube. Jonathan Peugeot went over this and talked about why, even if you say it's Dionysius or whatever other rendition of some sort of orgiastic feast that's done in celebration of diversity and so forth, ultimately what you have is diversity is temporary or it's death. Because if you diversify too much, you decompose and unity ceases to be. You can't have simply disparate, diverse parts with no unity. There has to be a unifying thing. And the unifying narrative that we've had in the West for literally the last 1,000 years plus is in fact the Christian worldview that informed basically everything that we have, including our insistence on equality and freedom and human value and so forth, that the king is under the same law as the commoner and all of that, that all is equality under the law, and that there is no difference between slave and free, Jew and Gentile, male and female, and so forth. These are all Christian ethics. And so ultimately what you have is something that's a purposeful abomination done in mockery, and it doesn't matter if it was explicit or if they're just the tools of demons and they didn't mean it. Either way, the outworking is the same. I don't think it matters what their intent was, but if they were intending to participate in the will of demons, shame on them all the more so. But either way, what I believe they were doing was participating in the will of demons by making a dirty propagandistic rendition or parody of a piece of artwork that was meant to represent the thing that was the unifying piece of the Western world. And so I think what we're seeing now is something of a crazy jester show, and the world coming to a place where it's no longer offensive to the public eye. But I'm really glad to see the united front on most of the Christians that I've seen reacting to this, saying, yeah, this is not all right, this is ridiculous. And I hate to point it out, but it's been said a lot of times before, the Olympics are pagan. I don't know why this is surprising, but beyond that, it is an election year. I don't know why this is surprising. It's the only thing surprising about this is its timing, but it is one of those things where an event like this and a display like that is usually done right before or right after Easter in the year. If you pay attention to the annual satanic calendar of events like this, they usually rear their ugly head around Easter or Christmas, because those are holidays that commemorate the Christ and the incarnation and so forth. And so I think that what this is even if it's not an explicit intent of the people who created this, whatever it is, ultimately what they're doing is participating in the will of demons. And that's one of the things that spirits do, is operate through an umbrella of influence across multiple persons, and they distribute that intent across multiple consciousnesses. And all the people involved don't actually have to have an identical intent. Much the same things are going to happen either way. That's what I have to say.
I think it was a knowing thing. I think the people that put this on, namely Thomas Jolly, who is the creator of this, and the Olympic Committee, because one of the reasons I say that is let's just say it was the intention of them not to steal from the Lord's Supper or get creative juices flowing from Michelangelo's beautiful painting, right? Thomas Jolly, which, by the way, is that his real last name? Conspiracy alert. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. We'll never know. But anyway, the point is that split-tongue statements, so talking out of both sides of your mouth statements, is never a good look for anyone. To say, well, I got this from Dionysius, but I didn't mean to offend anybody because I got this from Michelangelo painting. I was just trying to include everybody. We didn't have Christians in thought whatsoever. Those are contradicting to me. The Olympic Committee came out and personally and publicly apologized to Christians who were offended by the act. And the French media, this is something that I didn't know, and I'm glad a follower of Facebook of mine pointed it out to me, who speaks French. The French media was promulgating this as the Last Supper. All of their headlines had Last Supper in it. The Last Supper on the scene, which is the river that was flowing behind. You could see it in the shot where we've all seen the pictures, the comparison pictures. So that river behind them on the Olympic stage there, that's the Seine River. And Seine, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, is the Last Supper. So in French, right? So you have all of these articles, and these are all posted on my Facebook for anybody that wants to go see them to look at. All of the French media was pushing this as the Last Supper, right? Not mentioning Dionysius, not mentioning all of these things. So those three things alone, the IOC coming out and giving a public apology, Thomas Jolly talking out both sides of his mouth, that he did get creative influence, that he didn't get creative influence, that's a red flag. IOC, red flag. And then the French media, red flag. All of this evidence is coming out and saying that, no, it was intended to be exactly what it was. That's a Last Supper, a bastardization of the Last Supper. Because, and this is the thing that I said to people that asked me, well, why am I offended by this, right? And you guys know me, like, I'm not one to get offended by a lot of things. But the thing about it was the Last Supper, the sacred meal, right, that is centered in all of Christendom, whether you're Eastern Orthodox, whether you're Catholic, or whether you are Protestant, the whole meeting together thing, and this was how it was in the early church and even now, the reason why we meet, the center of that is the Eucharist, is the Lord's Supper. This is the pinnacle of our worship services, is the Eucharist. And to blatantly, whenever we participate in the Lord's Supper, and I mean we as Eastern Orthodox, right before we do that, we confess our sins. Right before anyone does this, they should confess their sins. Paul says if we were to examine ourselves, in 1 Corinthians, if we were to examine ourselves, we wouldn't be judged for partaking of the Lord's Supper wrongly, as so many of the Corinthians were doing, or were not doing, I should say. This is why so many of you are sick. This is why so many of you are weak. And this is why so many of you are dying, because you're not judging yourselves before participating in this sacred sacrament, mystery, whatever you want to call it there. But people are like being judged for participating in this wrongly. And the thing that got me was the blatant and overemphasis of what Christians and God has declared to be sin from day one. To portray the Lord's Supper as men being women and minor, that's a big thing that I won't go into because I don't want to get a demonetization strike or anything like that. But the P word that we all know.
The term is MAP, if you want to know, the politically correct term.
Yeah, whatever that means. MAP.
Minor attracted person.
Well.
Yeah.
Pedophilia is never a good look on anybody. All right?
Never.
And anyway, I'm getting sick just thinking about it. But yeah. So to have all that happening during your portrayal of the Last Supper is exactly why so many people were offended, because you are parading sin openly as a Last Supper, as the most sacred piece of Christendom. It's just the two are so far apart that it's disgusting. Now, with that being said, let me address some things also that I saw. And I'll show this icon that I've got in my hand. I've got it right here. It's not black. There is another side to it. Here, sneak peek. Whoa, there it was.
Ooh. Ooh.
We're going to show this here in just a second.
Is.
We're going to show this here in just a second. So bear with us. Bear with us. So now, would Jesus have ate at the table with these people? Yeah, I think so. Jesus tells us through John, Jesus ate at the table with sinners. Absolutely. The thing that people forgot to mention in all these Facebook posts that are seemingly, to me anyway, that Jesus would accept this type of behavior is absolutely wrong. Period in the subject. Because guess what? Jesus, his closest disciples, while they were all sinners, they were repentant sinners. Mm-hmm. And this is what I was trying to say earlier. with the things that I love. So to bring this whole conversation full circle now, the thing that I love now, I used to hate back then. And the thing that I loved back then, I now hate. I don't go parading my sin around. If I speak publicly about my sin, which is very, very rare, I do that with the intention to help someone struggling with the same thing. And that's it. I want to help them overcome that. Because while we fight with sin, while we struggle against the principalities and the powers in our own flesh and the devil, while we struggle against that, Christianity and that communion, that sacred supper that was ridiculed, in my opinion, that's the place where we confess. That's the place where we start fresh. That's the place where we become new every single week whenever we participate in the body and the blood of Christ. This is the newness that is coming. The old has gone away. Behold, the new has come. Right? This is where that starts or restarts for every single Christian every single week. And to mock that, to ridicule that, is absolute blasphemy on the highest level, in my opinion.
And it's meant to be. That's what I was saying before.
Right.
It's participating in the will of demons, even if their intent was not in the same direction as the end that the demons had in mind. Their participation makes this come about. And it doesn't, it's not, this is the thing. I'm not trying to attribute to any individual that's there in that video the malice of trying to defame Jesus personally, even if they were trying to do that. That's not my main gripe. My main gripe is that in events like this, it is almost just as silly that the church at large can't see that these people are willfully participating in the will of spirits, evil ones, demons, demoniac. That's what it is. It's twisted. It's upside down. It's purposefully blasphemous. It's sacrilegious. I just did an episode literally 1 week ago today about sacred things and profane things. One of the things that we didn't go over in that episode that I feel like now I'm going to have to because of everything that's happening is things that are sacred being treated as profane. What we talked about last week was taking the profane and the mundane things and bringing them into the sacred so they also can serve God. That's something God has a habit of doing. And so this weird inversion game that's being played, God plays it also, but he's way better at it than you, right? And so that like when we do this, and we do it all the time, it's not, like I said, this is almost it is an annual thing. Like it's not, I don't think this should be surprising to people anymore. The last 25, 30 years of pop culture have been a steady incline in sacrilege and mockery and open onslaught against anything that would be considered sacred and a praising of the edge of the world and everything taboo and every kind of weird fetishization that you can possibly imagine, to the point where now we're having open political discussion about the kind of things that we're having a discussion on tonight and saying, well, there's this weird like exception that exists. Yeah, that's what the edge of the world is like. Everything's exception there. Everything's hybridized between two places. This is right now where we are is at the end of a rope. And if we don't notice it, we're going to fall. And I think that it would be wise for the church to engage in a way that is less offended, like, which is why I normally in circumstances like this, I wouldn't want to make a Cosmic Corner episode on something like this. But I think that because of the reaction that's happening, and a lot of it is very vitriolic, like because it's politically contrived and it's not actually done out of a place of moral concern by the people involved. A lot of people have this like fabricated super offense to political things rather than spiritual warfare. And this is one of those places where they obviously overlap and everyone's like, oh, and it's like, okay, well, then we need to make sense of it. That's what we should do. We should make sense of it. But also we should really think deeply about what this means for where we are and where we're going, and whether or not we want to willfully head in that direction or if we want to be caught with oil in our lamps. Yeah.
Can I just say really quick, I love you guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it a lot. And
absolutely, Jamie.
I agree with what you're saying. And I do think it's open, purposeful mockery of Christianity. And I think think it's going to cause a swing back in the other direction for good or bad, whatever. But I think
Hey,
Christians
I was already going with the memes where the lady was, she was doing her little heart, and I put a burger in front of it. It says Ozempic Games.
Ha!
I think I saw that.
Hey man,
I got to eat dinner.
For me,
I got to eat dinner. I just wanted to say bye.
Yeah,
See
you're
you later,
good, Jamie.
Jamie.
See ya.
It's the same thing I did with the you missed. Like Tyler was ranting about, that you missed that the left jumped on that, and they're doing that. Well, the right responded with T-shirts with Donald Trump flicking off the thing saying you missed.
Right.
I think that's the humor that I appreciate. Like, okay, let's turn things on its head. Okay, you want to make fun of something like that. Okay, well let's be funny too. Let's see who gets more offended.
Right.
That's how we
Let's see
became
who's
known
gonna
as
take it to
Christians.
heart, right? Because you know what? I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to cry over it. You know what? I've seen the demonic up face to face, right? And I never experienced these type of things living in America than when I went to Puerto Rico and I actually engaged into the heart of the society there.
Yeah.
And you see it, and it's in your face, and it's very real. It's very real. And you're like, wow, we are protected in so many different ways. But I mean, but
Right.
yeah, do I think Dionysus was there? Yeah, absolutely. Dionysus was part of that whole setup. But did they set it up to look like the Last Supper? Like Tyler was saying? Absolutely. There's no mistake there. That was intentional. That was what it was for. And you're trying to combine the two. I don't care what your motive was. You botched. And you made something that was completely a mockery of something that many people think is sacred.
And
Well,
here's my
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say just real quick, and here's my challenge to those who say that, who's just so headstrong about this being a reinterpretation of Dionysus or whatever. Show me the sources. Super simple. Show me those primary sources. I'm not talking about a painting. I'm talking about show me the primary sources where Dionysus is in any kind of setting like this, because the whole thing sounds very zeitgeisty to me. Just saying. Go ahead.
I mean,
Deb.
but it's what's really wild though is that okay, so yeah, we may have paintings of Dionysus, okay, and I've seen them. I've seen the ancient paintings. Yes, the Olympics came from Greece, so you're going to have Dionysus. Okay, that's fine. But guess what? There's no mistake that was set up to look like the Last Supper, especially with the Senate behind it. There's just no way. There's no way you can do that. None of those paintings looking like what they did. They were posing as the people that were around the Last Supper.
Right.
Almost verbatim. I mean, I was surprised I didn't see the guy with the knife, the Jesus,
Right.
I mean,
well, that would be taken to kill the center chick.
Yeah.
Right. The woman, the Jewish woman that had the nimbus on her head, and that would be sending too many kind of messages.
Things, right.
We want to kill people. Like
we want to unalive stuff.
Yeah. There you go.
Dude, I hear you. I mean, it's just there's no mistake. There's no mistake, and yes, there's other things involved. Yes, I'm sure. You can try to justify your way out of it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But to see what it was, in that setting, yes, there was also that. There was that mockery there, and there's no denying it.
Right. This, ladies and gentlemen, will be the icon that I give away. I'll let you know. It's going to be maybe a surprise. Well, I don't know. We'll see. But it's not going to be a members only. We will do a members only. So make sure you join. Super
and I got a
cheap
book for that. You're going to get a cool apologetics book for that.
Super cheap. We're offering probably the cheapest monthly to join monthly for our members. I've got 2 levels set up, and I thought it would be fun. If we want to change this, we can. But I've got the Faith Unaltered Laity, which is $2.99 a month. That's super cheap, guys. $2.99 a month. And then if you want to be known, and you get cool little perks, you can go look at the perks on our membership. So if you're on the channel, so youtube.com/ /@faithunaltered. You should see a blue join button right next to the big old red subscribe button. Click join, and you can choose to be either Faith Unaltered Laity or Faith Unaltered Clergy. That's right. I couldn't think of any better names, so if we want to change that around, we can later. But $4.99 a month, $5 a month for Faith Unaltered Clergy, $3 a month for Faith Unaltered Laity. You get a couple more things in the clergy tier, but there's a lot of overlap between the two. And so $5 a month max. Y'all, please go check that out, and please consider subscribing to not only the channel, but joining our YouTube memberships. We're going to have special content just for y'all, and read the perks there. That's going to be coming soon. But without any further ado, this will be the icon that I give away very soon. If not the last of August, probably the 1st or middle of September. Right here.
Jesus and the children.
Jesus and the children. This,
I knew it.
This was bought, so this was purchased by me whenever I
That's beautiful.
understood that, and changed my mind actually, that Jesus and that Dane and I were having a conversation about this, that children should be baptized. The babies, infants should be baptized. And I was looking for my first icon, and I said, man, this is perfect. This is perfect. I'll show it again. But yep, Jesus and the little children. Jesus says, let the children come to me. This will be the icon that I give away. This was on my icon wall. This was the one. So I've got 2 icons of Jesus. So this one and what's called a diptych. And what that is it's one icon, but it folds. So it opens up and into 2. And it's got the Theotokos with baby Jesus on the left side, and then Jesus, the Pantocrator, on the other side. And so that is going to be taken down. That's going to be given to somebody at my parish, because that's where I got that one from, was from my parish. And so I'm going to give back because I got it from there. And so I'm going to give it back. And if somebody needs one, they can. But Lacey and I are upgrading our icons, and we're going to be getting 2 of Mary and Jesus. So that's going to replace this one. So that's why I'm giving this one away. I would keep it, but if it can benefit, or if somebody just wants it because they think it looks cool, or if you want it for veneration purposes, then all you have to do is show up, and I will be giving it away to someone watching in the chat. And so with that being said, anybody, and we'll do anybody that wants it. So just because you're in the chat, like, let me know if you want in on that, because if you don't want it, then you don't want it. That's fine. I don't want to give it away to somebody that doesn't want it. But if you do want it, put, yep, enter me. I'll enter all those names. We'll do a random name generator, and we will get the winner for that very, very soon. So guys, with that being said, final thoughts.
I think we've beat these dead horses tonight, man.
I think we have. Yeah,
We have.
no, I think we have. Josh,
everything.
yeah, I agree. Josh, anything?
Just that I'm kind of convinced at this point that I'm going to have to do an alternate episode to the sacred and the profane, with
I
the
agree.
profane sacred, and really do a deep dive on blasphemy. I probably won't touch the unforgivable sin or blasphemy in the Holy Spirit. If anybody's watching, I don't have the mental fortitude to think that I'm going to have an infallible or even useful answer to that beyond what other people have already articulated. But I think that if we started to, especially right now with this weird jester-like upside down world, if we started to explore what it means to be blasphemous in a more, say, translated, less Christianese sense, it would be really useful right now. Give people something to notice, and perhaps make them less afraid when these things continue to pop up, because I believe that this is still going. Like, to be honest with you, again, it's an election year. Stuff's going to go even more screwy.
Josh, we should definitely plan it to be like the upside down in Stranger Things.
Yeah, well, that's
Where we're
exactly
living.
that's exactly what it is. Yeah, and that's the thing is, this is what I was saying earlier, is that we're living in a society that's come to worship the upside down.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
we're doing right now. Is we're witnessing a world that's willing to worship the upside down things, and you know, without trying to go too far into the show or anything like that. It's like, it's just this portrayal of a world where everything is the same, but a corrupted, dead version of itself that simply is completely arid and unfruitful. And the only things that can survive there are things that don't deserve to survive. Right. Like it's crazy, because in a world like that, you don't get things that have this survivability that'll create a society that lasts for thousands of years. This is a corrupt state in which we're going to crumble quickly if we don't do something against or about it. Right. And I don't mean in like a political revolution sort of way. I mean on an individual to individual good infection of Christianity sort of way.
Yeah.
The fields are ripe and we need harvesters. You know what I mean? That's what I think. I'm convinced that I'm going to have to do an episode on that. So that'll come down the pipes.
Let's do it. All right, y'all. With that being said, we've got a big week next week. I've got 3 shows scheduled, booked, ready to go. So let's see here. The 7th, I'll be talking to Father Joseph Gleason about Romans 5:12 and infant damnation. Hashtag Bellgate. The 8th at 1 p.m., I will be talking to Dr. David Ford, who is a St. Tikhon's professor, and we will be discussing universalism, so from an Orthodox perspective. And then 9th, wherever Dale went, I don't know. Me and him is going to do a collab show, or him and I are going to do a collab show with Emily Curtis. And so that's going to be, she wrote a book, and that's about all I know at this point. So I've set myself up already for failure with that one. I need to do a little bit more research. And so I know he's talking about practicality. So now that I'm back, I want to start talking more so after we get these 3 shows that I've already had booked for a while now done and over with. I'm going to transition more to a practical base approach in Christianity. I think a lot of people are suffering. I think a lot of people are struggling, and I think we need more voices in that realm. And so I personally want to start doing that with Faith Unaltered and with the shows that I coordinate. And so with that being said, that's what I've got. There is, and that's about it. That's all I've got. And so I'm also recording an audiobook for Craig Trulia called The Rise and Fall of the Papacy. That is in the works. I should be done recording that by September the 1st. That's my goal. That's my deadline, really. And so I'm going to be busy with that. So I might be a little, yes, I'm back in August, but I might be not as busy as I will be in September and October because I'm still trying to get that book done. And so with that being said, if you guys don't catch me after these 3 shows, then I will be back. I promise. But I am back. And so with that being said, I'm glad to be back, and I miss you guys, and I love you guys, and I thank you for participating, and I missed our audience as well. So we love you all very, very much.
We're glad you're back too, bro. And then in
that.
addition to everything that Tyler just mentioned, I do on the 16th have a guy named Christopher Tucker, coming on to talk about universal reconciliation, which I think is in line with what you were talking about.
Smokey? Chris Tucker?
Smokey, right.
Smokey's coming on? What?
And we're going to be talking about universal reconciliation, which it sounds like you have a show that's similar to that lined up prior to then.
I do.
So if you could be there for that one, Tyler, that would be really nifty, actually.
When is that?
The 16th.
The 16th. Okay.
And I got a show coming up on the
What
23rd.
time? Is that 7 p.m.?
It's at normal time.
Maybe. I've got a show the 16th with Dale at 2 p.m. We're going to be talking about NDE, so near-death experiences with a couple atheist guys.
Nice.
So I will try to make that. David, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, I'm going to probably have the 23rd slot. I'm going to let everybody know what that is probably next week. So
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, other than that, thank you all It's been fun. It's been great. Good night. God bless. David, you got this one.
Got it. Stay like
Good.
Christ.